a civil war waging for the last 2 years. And those asylum seekers or economic migrants who make it from Sudan to the UK have a 99% chance of being given leave to remain. So I spent several hours talking to immigration chiefs here in Benghazi on the east side of Libya. The Libyan National Army has a very good grip on the immigration problem, albeit fighting against a huge crisis with limited resources. There is a very, very clear process of giving people proper health checks, the life-saving care that they need, and then working out where it is exactly that they've come from. Their message to the UK is that you are fueling this problem. You are effectively advertising a great new life for people from sub-Saharan Africa. They actually said, you know, what do you think happens when a guy from Sudan comes up through Libya and makes his way all the way to the UK and gets put in a luxurious hotel and provided with everything? And make no mistake, it is a perilous journey. We see it from the end point. We see the channel crossing as the dangerous bit. But actually where these journeys begin is in the hot desert. Many, many tens of kilometers have to be covered on foot by these migrants. And as many as 1 in 4 do not make it. That means bodies in the desert. The Libyan authorities are having to recover bodies in the desert. About the UK and how much awareness. Please understand the scale of what we are dealing with here with very, very limited resources. Once again, you know, people come in from charities, from NGOs, they use warm words, and the authorities here told me the only thing that we ever get is maybe a few toothbrushes and some nappies for the babies.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
A very, very good morning to you. Welcome to Tuesday. It's the 9th of December. The news of biblical proportions. As I prepared for the show this morning, Christian, the world's greatest producer, has just... I'm going to have to find a different word. He said, let's be honest, Jez, the weather's crap. The news is crap. Tell us what's making you not feel crap. Morning, Peter Blexley. It's awful out there, man.
Good morning, Mr. Kyle, but the sun's shining in here.
Oh, that's it, me old son. Good morning, Alarm Clock Britain. Thank you so much indeed for making it Talk, where the nation comes to discuss. We'll roll out what's in the news, but I just want to say, had several texts over the last few days about when are you going to get into the Christmas spirit. So we loaded a background with snow to just people to get into the spirit, and it's not gone into the system. So sod Christmas for another show. But we'll get into it. It is quite serious, some of the news today. We'll do what we always do and give you the chance to respond. Those voice notes, we love them, we want them. 0344 499 1000. Your text messages as well, always welcome throughout the show at 87222. Peter Blexley, get ready, because this is the sort of story that will send hundreds of thousands of people over the edge. Front page of the Daily Telegraph. We start with a story that I think is extraordinary. A teacher has been banned from working with children after telling a Muslim child that Britain is still a Christian state. According to the child who made the complaint, the teacher told them that the school was not a religious one, but in fact there was an Islamic school a mile away if they wished to attend it. The primary school teacher was referred to the police. He was referred to the local child protection board over comments he made. I don't know at this point if he's suspended, sacked or whatever. My question this morning to my wonderful 11 viewers is, Are we still a Christian country then? Have I missed the point? We are a Christian country. Of course, we welcome other religions, creeds. That's the way we've always been. That's the separate issue of immigration. But are we getting to a point where we cannot fly our flag and we cannot say that we are Christian? Christmas is round the bloody corner, for God's sake.
Well, King Charles III is the head of the Church of England, and therefore he is also the head of state. Now, at the last census, which was in 2021, for the first time ever, people identifying as Christian was just below 50%.
Wow.
For the first ever time. So, of course, many people were saying, well, we're not a majority Christian country. Well, actually, if you compare those who identify as Christian to those who identify as other faiths, then Christianity is still the majority faith. But it's a bit kind of tenuous as to whether we would be called a Christian state. But as far as I'm concerned, with King Charles III being the head of state and also the head of the Church of England, and with nearly 50% people identifying as Christian, I would say we are fundamentally a Christian state. However, this teacher, teaching in a primary school...
Primary, let's just point that out, but the child was intelligent enough to complain to the police. Wonder where that came from. Not the kid, I bet.
When he pointed it out to some Year 6 kids, apparently he also admonished some other children because they were washing their feet in the sinks of the boys' toilets. And this school also had a policy of no praying in the playground. What they did say is they had a specific space for the washing of feet and for prayer for those who wanted to do so. So this teacher, I think, not unreasonably said, don't wash your feet here, you've got a space to go and do that elsewhere. OK, he gets reported, and of course, in lunatic Britain 2025, he gets suspended, he gets sacked. Now he has the support of the Free Speech Union.
On a daily basis, we should salute these people. They're one of the... Honestly, how much great work does the Free Speech Union do?
Lord Toby Young set it up.
Top man.
I mean, really, and winning battles in courts, in tribunals, on an almost daily basis. Fighting for... My expression is, let's not fight for the right to do this or the right to do that. Let's fight for what is right. Full stop.
Well, this was set up here, talk on common sense. The common sense answer to this surely is that if you're a Christian, you have as much right to be talking or practising or doing whatever. And I'm at the point here and now, I'm not religious, never have been, right?
Likewise.
But each to his own. If you're a Muslim, that's absolutely your religion. There's plenty of different religions. But for a man in a primary school to say that Britain is a Christian state and to be ostracised and his life to be completely and utterly destroyed, you get again to the point where you think, well, what is next? Love to hear from you in this 87222. Start your message with the words and your voice notes, please. A teacher has been banned from working with kids after telling a Muslim child that Britain is a Christian state. Are we still Christian? By the way, let's go back to September when Starmer was sat next to Donald Trump rather uncomfortably. He was asked if we are a Christian country. Have a watch.
The question to the Prime Minister, if you don't mind, are we still a Christian country?
In terms of a Christian country, I was christened, so that is my church has been all my life, and we are, that is wired into our informal constitution. Of course, we celebrate many other faiths as well, and I'm really proud that we're able to do so as a country.
Didn't really mention whether we were a Christian state. Talked about the other faiths, which are all welcome to talk about. That's absolutely fine. But there again, why are we not able, PB, right, to say, I can fly the Union flag, I can fly the flag of St George, I can say I'm a Christian. I don't mind everybody, I don't mind all that. Illegal immigration is a different subject, OK? I don't like what's happening to my country, but we've always welcomed that. But it's getting to the point where anything that the indigenous, and I know you use the wrong words, or the British population has been used to or coveted, or whether it's statues or the past or it's all being, pushed under the carpet, and if you dare to mention it, you're ostracised and you're an awful human being, and thank the Lord for Lord Toby Young.
And look at Starmer. He ducked the question. He absolutely ducked the question.
Of course he ducks the question.
He is such a coward of such monumental proportions that he will not speak for Britain. And this is why there are chants at football matches very derogatory about him. It's why people paint bridges with derogatory slogans about him.
Not very nice,
he is the most unpopular Prime Minister, I would suggest, that we have ever had, because he will not stand up for Britain and the British. He wants to appease everybody else, and in his socialist manner, he is leading this country down with what they call social mobility to make us all as skint as one another and destroy everything, whether it be the Christian faith or Victoria Sponge.
Happy Christmas, everybody. Talking of which, there is a little... Can we try a little bit of a slightly interesting angle on this, just because I don't want to sit here and feel miserable all morning. Christmas is coming.
Yes.
Very soon we'll have a backdrop with snow. So, the Christmas spirit, OK? Bearing in mind, we're living in a country where you can't say jack, where the Prime Minister's a complete...
Yes.
Bleh. Everything seems to be going wrong. Everything costs more. Christmas is just this sort of, oh, my God, how am I going to be able to afford it? What makes you get in the Christmas spirit? What do you love about Christmas? What do you love about it? Eggnog, QPR drawing West Ham in the FA Cup.
I love many, many things about Christmas.
What's your favourite?
Well, I really get into the Christmas spirit, though.
Do you?
On Friday, because it's my birthday this Thursday, 2 days' time. So I am all about my birthday now.
How are
on
you?
Thursday.
How old are you?
Come Friday, I become an old age pensioner.
What? So
Thursday.
Christmas starts on your birthday, which is in fact the 12th.
No, it starts the day after, the 12th.
Yeah,
That's when I'll go out and get the tree, because my birthday will have been out the way, and we move in.
Real
Christmas.
tree?
A real tree.
Lights
course, yes.
everywhere?
My wife deals with all the decorations, but I go and buy the tree.
Traditional Christmas? Turkey
Yes,
stuffing?
turkey. We have to do a joint of beef because we got a flaky son who's not really into turkey. So we do
Sorry,
a joint
a flaky
of beef.
son? What does that mean?
Well, he's flaky. He doesn't like turkey. I mean, who doesn't like turkey?
You need to throw him out the house. It's like those
Turkey's
people that
lovely
go, I'll
on
have nut
Christmas
loaf
Day.
or a bit of fish. What's
So
wrong with you?
His mother indulges him and does a small joint of beef as
Does
well.
she? Yeah.
So, and I love it all. I love the giving of presents. I like receiving some as well. And I love standing in the
Can we
kitchen.
all come to the Toby Carvery around the Blexley household?
I'll
on
tell you
Sunday?
what, I must introduce you to my wife. If you ever describe her Christmas lunch as being comparable to that of a Toby Carvery, you better have your running shoes on, Mr. Kyle.
Is she quite scary? Because I get the impression that I reckon that Mrs. B runs the household with a rod of iron.
She's in charge. There's no doubt about
So,
that.
on the day, on a serious note, that a teacher is banned from working with kids after telling a Muslim child who's in primary school that Britain's a Christian state. All of that, really serious. What does that say about our country? But it's Christmas. What gets you in the Christmas spirit? Just because if we don't talk about something like that, it's just going to be the most miserable, miserable day because the weather's awful, the news is awful, and Christian's quite depressed. 87222. Start your message with the word talk. Morning, Jez, says Mark in Croydon. Every year I think it feels less and less like Christmas in the United Kingdom. I've been to Dubai at Christmas and they seem to make more bleeding effort than we do. The UK is so keen to please others, it forgets about us, the silent majority. I think that's quite true, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Oh, hold on a second. This is brilliant. We're going to drop this in because otherwise it's going to be quite depressing. Keir Starmer's already in the Christmas spirit. I can successfully tell you. He's joined TikTok.
Yes.
So our Prime Minister, fresh from your energy bills, your food bills and almost everything in your life going up through the roof and everything's a disaster, has joined TikTok. And this was downloaded by Number 10 yesterday and has garnered about 11 views. Take it away, Keir.
TikTok following.
Response to that? It's just him and he's bow-legged, by the way.
Well, I give no regard to his legs whatsoever. I'm not in the slightest bit interested. I'm more interested in how he's running the country. And let's face it, it's not looking very good, is
The
it?
Tories have wasted no time in taking the TikTok out of Starmer, because that was his attempt, and this is their rip-off. Take it away, the Tories.
TikTok following.
Have you lost control of your MPs, Prime Minister?
Hello. I call again for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza. The return of the sausages. Big Seven. Yeah.
Lord Mandel.
I'm not a massive fan of the Tory party. That's blinding, isn't it? You'd go and watch that on TikTok.
Yes, it's very
I wonder
good.
when he looks back at Christmas, when he sat there in the Number 10 flat with his two kids. how many kids has he got? Yeah, it's just 2, isn't it? And his wife, if she's there on Christmas Day. And I can't imagine a happy family scene. Do you think he knows, on a serious point here, do you think he knows that he's the most hated person, it seems?
No, because he's in a bubble. And surely he'll go to Chequers, won't he, for Christmas? Isn't that what Prime Ministers do? I don't know. I've never had an invite.
But he's not having a Toby Carvery like you're being served up by Mrs. Blexley.
Honestly, you know, it's only 25 minutes from our house to here. Right? She could be here before the time I leave this studio.
She's not getting in, man. She's not getting in. I put security. I know all about Mrs. P, don't worry. It is just extraordinary to me. I know but most Prime Ministers at the end are not popular. His has sort of started from day one, and I bet at some point he's going to sit down this year and go, geez, can it get any worse?
But of course, you see, he was elected on a protest vote. The entire general election. Yeah. You know where they say that by-elections are protest votes? The last general election was a protest vote because the Tories rightfully had become so hugely unpopular. So he gets elected with millions of people voting for him to get the Tories out, rather than voting for him, his manifesto. But then those people that did vote for him, they expected him to be competent, relate to people, consider our concerns, and he's done none of that.
None.
He's just gone off with the extremist nonsense. He lives in a Westminster bubble where he's surrounded by people that tell him what he wants to hear rather than what he needs to know, and consequently the man's completely out of touch. This is obvious, and he's a chump, he's a fool, he's a danger.
I have to apologise. Well, I'm not going to apologise because the job is to talk about the news and your response to it. The next story is perhaps even worse than the first story, but it is a story that needs to be told, and certain people will jump up and down, but it's on page 23 of the Mail, and Peter Blexley, you are best placed on a serious note to deal with this. Footage is the headline of rape by teen asylum seekers would start a riot if the public saw it. 2 Afghan teenage asylum seekers were jailed yesterday for raping a schoolgirl who was brave enough to film herself being snatched in footage so horrific that one of the lawyers, Peter Blexley, yesterday feared that it would cause riots if it went public. I myself can categorically tell you I am beyond sick to death of hearing about these stories. I have no time for the people who will make sweeping judgments about every single illegal migrant. I've heard them all say, oh, you're just tarnishing. No, I'm not, right? If you come to this country legally and you provide and you pay tax, you're welcome. But this, to allow unvetted young men with a different set of values into this country without any due process is putting young women at risk. And a bit like you with the other stuff, all those women that jump up and down and talk about women's safety, and you know who you are, right? Where are you? Where are you for this girl? Why are you defending 2 teenage asylum seekers who have raped a young girl, who's bravely done this on video, who will have PTSD for the rest of her life? But I won't hear about those women saying, that poor girl. They'll be saying, oh, you know what, these poor migrants have had it hard. It is time we vetted young men coming into this country, surely, PB.
Thank you very much for pointing out at the very heart of this story, there is a 15-year-old girl.
Yes.
And there was video evidence put before the court of one of these vile, illegal immigrant rapists putting his hand over her mouth in an effort to silence her. Disgusting. Imagine the trauma. And we heard from the victim impact statement.
Never, ever hear from those do-gooders about these sorts of cases.
What, you mean the ones that hold signs saying refugees welcome, all those kind of hypocritical cretins?
And the women who talk about women's rights, which I've supported for as long as I can imagine. Where is Jess Phillips, by the way? Why isn't she sticking up for this young victim? Not a word.
Absolutely appalling crime. And let's just call out these 2 pieces of garbage. One called Yan Yahanzeb and the other called Isra Niazal, who were both 17 when sentenced yesterday, and both arrived in the UK via, you've got it, small boats, coming here allegedly as unaccompanied minors. And their ages had been guesstimated, basically, by people that have spoke to them, doctors and such like, who really knows what their age is. And one of them cynically pleaded guilty the day before his 17th birthday in order to avoid deportation at a later state.
And they tell me they don't know how to play the system.
And has said that he intends to forge a life for himself in Britain once he is released. Oh no, pal, if anybody running the country when he is released has any kind of semblance of decency, of respect for the victim, of respect for the British people, of respect for the order of law and our borders, rip up the rule book, get him on a plane and fly him back to Afghanistan. Immediately upon release, in handcuffs. Both of them. Never to darken our door again.
Completely
and my
agree.
thoughts are with that 15-year-old girl who will have a lifetime of trauma. Bless her soul. I hope that everything is possibly done that can be done to help that young woman.
And that's the point, isn't it? I would love to hear from one of those do-gooders right now who would say to me, you don't understand what it's like to live in Eritrea. You don't understand how hard it is. No, I don't. But I want you to understand how terrified, and as Pete has said forever, a 15-year-old, yes, a white schoolgirl, am I allowed to say that? Yes, it's true, who was cynically raped and was brave enough to film that. And these guys are what? Making a life in this country. We're becoming a laughingstock. Your voice notes, 0344 499 1000. Text to 87222. Steve's in Hull. Good morning, boys. Regarding migrant rapists, one of the things that stood out for me was one of the original reports referring to the rapists as boys and the victim as women when they were young girls. That's really, really shocking. Good point. Rachel, good morning, both. As a Christian, a follower, I think someone should tell the school who banned the teacher our entire calendar revolves around the birth of Christ, not just here, but globally. Good morning to Stephen Shirley. Stephen Shirley, from a rainy Yorkshire. I don't know why I've done that. It's raining here. It's not just in Yorkshire. You just asked about getting to the Christmas spirit. My great wife and I spend Christmas in Salzburg in Austria. We will be leaving on Sunday for 2 weeks of merriness, getting out of this whole of a country. We are pensioners, by the way, and over there we'll be perfectly safe going out after dark, which we can't do in our own town here. Merry Christmas.
And I hope they both enjoy a glass of Glühwein while they're out there.
That sounds awful. What's Glühwein?
Well, it's kind of like mulled wine, I think, but it's a bit different.
It sounds like a sort of cross between glue and bovine.
I've only ever heard the word from my wife, who's far better travelled and more learned.
They don't serve Glühwein in a beef eater. What are you talking about, Toby Carvery? Morning, Jez and Pete. Shane in Bournemouth. It's raining. Yeah, of course it is. Sadly, there's no Christmas spirit this year in my house. Rachel Thieves and those Labour government people had anything to do with that. I guarantee the bunch of twits had a massive Christmas with their families. I only hope they'd choke on their turkeys. Oh, God. I might. You can't beat a good slow-roasted joint beef or a juicy leg of lamb.
There you go, you see.
Oh, well, if you get around to Mrs. Blexy, she'll give you a juicy leg of lamb as well, because it's just like a beef eater. Cheers, says Tony. Try Christmas in Eastern Europe. It's amazing. Orthodox Christianity is booming in Russia, Poland, Hungary. Western Europe is doomed.
Poland, recommend Poland. I went to Krakow not so long ago. Absolutely wonderful. Safe streets, no litter, beautiful.
What is wrong with you, man? That's not how it should be. We like crime and litter and everything going wrong. Right, 6:23, we're live across the UK. This is JK on breakfast with the inimitable Peter Blexley. The two main news stories of the day. Genuinely, it's not a happy story. A teacher's been banned from working with kids after telling a Muslim child that Britain is still a Christian state. Are we still a Christian country? Would love to hear from you. And that appalling story, page 23 of the Mail, 2 Afghan teenage asylum seekers jailed yesterday for raping a 15-year-old schoolgirl who was brave enough to video it. Are you fed up like the rest of us are with these cases? How the hell is this being allowed to happen? Back in 3.
This is from the migrant camps in Dunkirk.
It's a lot deeper and darker.
The French police are complicit every step of the way.
And that was when I heard the gunfire. You need to get out of here quick. They do not care about human life. They are dangerous people.
For 2 weeks, talk was undercover in those camps. This is an absolute scandal.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
A very good morning to you, 6:25. We're live across the UK and Talk, the home of free speech. By the way, can I just make this point? Perhaps the greatest way to listen to us if you're heading out, because the weather's awful, if you're going in your van or your car on the train, download that brand new Talk app. You can take us with you. It's the best and easiest way to listen and watch Talk. Everything you need is on that app, including information about the legend that is Peter Bleksley.
Good morning.
We've heard from Ricky, Ricky who works here, who's up because he's got a beautiful young daughter called Pippa. She's waving at the telly currently. How are you, Pippa? And the interesting thing is, having had 6 kids, when I met this child, I said to Ricky, oh, give the baby to me. I'm like the baby whisperer. It screamed. Pippa screamed her head off. Literally screamed her head off. So, child doesn't obviously like me, but it's beautiful and her parents are lovely. And
Or maybe she's blessed with very good taste.
Really? You're on it this morning? Is that because Mrs. Blex is doing it? Has she been on the text, Mrs.
May I just point out that you started it, all right? OK? And
I
have to stand
simply
up for
said
my
the amount
wife.
of meat your wife's doing on Christmas Day. That didn't sound right. The amount of meat your wife's preparing on Christmas Day, it sounds like a Toby Carvery in the Bleksley household. And you went, I can't believe you said it. Can we get back to this story? Because people are raging. The 2 news stories today. A teacher banned from working with kids after telling a Muslim child that Britain is still a Christian state. Are we a Christian country? Are we allowed to be? Because we're not allowed to fly our flag. And that appalling story. 2 Afghan teenage asylum seekers, 17 and 18 maybe, pleading guilty yesterday, getting 8 and 10 years, not being deported, and a 15-year-old girl, ladies and gentlemen, brave enough to video this PTSD for the rest of her life. And you know, people will not have the conversation, Pete. They'll go, are you being slightly out of order talking? No, listen, facts are facts. They were Afghan asylum seekers who came on a boat, who presumably have absolutely no respect for women in this country, and they raped this teenage girl and they've gone to jail. And my question is simply to all of you, surely if you don't allow men like that to come unvetted into your country, you're putting your own women in a safer position, aren't you?
Stop calling them asylum seekers. They are illegal immigrants.
OK, you don't have to have a go at me.
They came into this country without leave to remain.
Yeah, it's true.
Therefore, they were in breach of the Immigration Act of 1971. Upon arriving here, they should be detained. They shouldn't be housed at taxpayer expense in a hotel or wheresoever they were sent. They should be in a detention camp surrounded by razor wire and snarling Alsatians.
Nice. Maxim Minchin-Hampton, or Minchin-Maxin-Hampton, I've no idea. JK and PB, 2 illegal immigrants who raped a 15-year-old girl face possible deportation. Possible? How is it even up for bloody debate? They need to be thrown out now. The bleeding heart liberal pearl clutches have this in their hands. It is utterly, utterly disgusting, and it should not be allowed to continue anymore. Loads and loads of people trying to get in touch. James on Free Speech. Morning, James.
Good morning, Jezza. Good morning, Peter. Now, Mr. Jerry Barton, he effectively, for free speech, got the same sentence as Hugh Edwards, a horrific paedophile. Let that sink in. Quite unbelievable. That judge. Free speech. Criminal for free speech. Unbelievable. And that piece of vermin that worked for the BBC had over 10,000 images of children. Unbelievable. Disgusting, disgusting, disgusting. Unbelievable. Thanks, Jezza. Thanks, Peter.
I think, James, this is unbelievable. I'm not going to stick up for Joey Barton. Some of what he said and did, I don't agree. But free speech is free speech. Can I pick up on this? I didn't want to do this. This makes me so angry, and I don't want to be angry so early. Front page of the Mail, ex-BBC stars backing Hugh Edwards as he plots a comeback. He's had this new glitzy photo done. It's on the front of most newspapers. Presumably it's some sort of publicity shot. Hugh Edwards. Inside Hugh Edwards' mysterious comeback and the surprising names secretly backing him. Do you know what those names are? Has anybody told me? We'll have a look at that. I think that, on the back of what we just told you about Afghan, what do you call them? Illegal migrants who came by boat. But here's a man who was the voice of news. This was a man who, you know, he told us about Her Late Majesty's death. This is a man who, as James said, ended up with 10,000 images of children on his computer and was forced, quite rightly, to leave the BBC and his cushy lifestyle because, in effect, he's a paedophile. But he's walking the streets, ladies and gentlemen. He's walking the streets with a gold-plated pension that the BBC still haven't got back. He's plotting a comeback, which is an absolute disgrace to all those children who have been manipulated and whose lives are blighted. I cannot... What is wrong with this place, this country? Hugh Edwards should never raise his heinous head again. And I don't even know the names of the people who are supporting him. Have you got some?
Coiffured hair, designer stubble, professionally lit, undoubtedly a professionally taken photograph.
It's a paedophile.
Of this paedophile.
It's a paedophile.
Which he posts on his social media as he pathetically tries to orchestrate, I would imagine, some kind of comeback into public life. Well, his wife, Vicky Flynn, wasn't stupid. She filed for divorce. She wants nothing to do with the predatory paedophile, which is what he is. And once again, I must commend you for pointing out that behind every image that he shared and probably got off on, there is a child
An
victim
innocent kid
of sex abuse.
Yeah.
A child victim somewhere that has been abused by another paedophile for this Hugh Edwards paedophile's sick pleasure. It's absolutely appalling.
And do me a favour, somebody, if you've got time, try and find out the names, which lovies are supporting this man. I don't understand. There's a lot about the BBC that annoys me, but I will say this. I fail to understand how they have continually turned a blind eye to the most obvious paedophiles and dodgy human beings in their ranks, how they've supported those people. But as to this man, on the back of that licence fee, still keeping his pension, not being made to pay that back, is an absolute... I mean, the biggest smack in the face for every hard-working Brit, every alarm clock Brit who's listening right now. It seems, again, that every priority is everybody other than hard-working Britain. I mean, this government, as you said, came to power talking about working people and we're going to change this, growth and all that. No. If you get up now in this appalling weather, male, female, mother, getting kids ready for school, my Vic will be running around for the next hour and a half. Why do you do everything correctly when in this country a paedophile can attempt a television comeback? Right? 2 illegal migrants can rape a girl and not be deported. They'll go and sit in jail until they come out and presumably will give them, reason to remain forever. And if you're a teacher in a Christian court, you can't say Christian. Oh, you can't say Christian because presumably that'll upset somebody. It's mad. And as Sean says, this country is being run by idiots. We might be religious or practising Christians, but we have Christian values ingrained in our DNA, Jez. The fools in power have done their best to dilute this over many years, and Keith Starling is the worst example ever. Good morning to Peter in Croydon. Morning, chaps. Resuspended teacher. This obviously came from the Muslim parents. I would respectfully expel the kid and tell the parents to put him in an Islamic school if they get easily offended. It's their choice. Ben's in London. Morning, Ben. Good morning, Jeremy and the amazing Peter.
Thank you.
It's going round to yours for a Christmas lunch. Will this teacher be another Batley teacher episode? Is that another teacher get banned because of Islam? That's an interesting story, wasn't it?
Yeah, this teacher is apparently back in teaching at a different school.
Oh, right.
Part-time, so that's a good something
thing
to be welcomed, yes.
Yeah. Bill's in Cheshire. Morning, gang. Free speech in the UK. The only free speech allowed in Starmer's UK is whatever the Labour Party want you to say. Anyone deviating from this rule is likely to be visited by several police and charged with being in possession of an opinion. Is that an offence, being in possession of an opinion?
Well, Prime Minister Starmer,
yes,
let me point out that I personally believe that People who come to this country illegally should be detained and not put in hotels at taxpayer expense.
Deported.
I believe you, as the head of this country, should abide by your number one responsibility, which is to protect the citizens of this country and this nation. I believe that in fact, this is a fact, many illegal immigrants coming into this country have committed murder, rape, and other very, very serious crimes. So you are putting people at risk. I am not a fan of Islam. There's another thing, try and lock me up for that. And I've got much more to say, including people with penises should not go into women's toilets or safe spaces.
God,
there you go, Starmer. There's my rap sheet. Come and nick me.
Yeah, well, maybe you would be, Nick. What a morning. Morning, JK and Pete. Can I go back about 40 years to RE in school, where we were taught about every other faith except for Christianity? The theory being you should be taught Christianity at home. Graham in Stirling, good point. Barnsley, it's paying a rain. Morning, Sam. Getting in the Christmas spirit is booking the holiday for 10 days in the Canary Islands to get out of this whole of a country. Well done, Sam. Brilliant. Good morning to Max. We're turning the UK into a non-Christian country by allowing an invasion, or they won't like that word, of potential terrorist cells, criminals, thieves and rapists. That is the truth. Joanna in Salisbury. Morning, Joe. Jez, Pete, the only reason we know their nationality of these Afghan rapists is because the judge, this is interesting, released that information. What if he hadn't? How many, she says, do we not know about? Morning, Dave.
Morning, JK. Morning, Mr. Brexley. Like yourself, I'm a week after you and becoming a pensioner, dragging myself out of bed at 3:30 to put steam on the table. Just a point about these vile rapists, these Afghani rapists. 17, really. What makes me laugh is they can go and discover a 2,000-year-old body somewhere and determine the age at death. But when you've got a living soul right in front of you, they don't know how old he is. Come on. All the other one, they're men, not boys.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Oh, there you are. Very good morning. 21 minutes to 7 o'clock. It's Tuesday. It's pouring with rain. The news is miserable. Peter Blexy's got a coffee in his right hand and he's got a spring in his step and his hat is at a jaunty angle. Good morning.
Good morning.
It's not great news, peeps, that you're waking up to. Alarm clock Brits doing their bit. A teacher's been banned from working with kids after telling a Muslim child that Britain is still a Christian state. Are we a Christian country? Are we allowed to be? Love your thoughts on that. 2 Afghan teenage illegal migrants jailed yesterday for raping a schoolgirl. I just salute this kid. She's 15. She videotaped this. She'll have PTSD for the rest of her life. But these 2 thugs thrown in jail, where they'll probably serve, what, a third of their time, and in 3 or 4 years they'll be out with a new identity and they'll be allowed to stay in this country forever. My question is quite simply this. Why are these people not deported the instant they carry out such a heinous crime against a young English white girl? Oh, how would that make us look? No. You should be looking, as a government, your first priority should be, right, to look after your own population. Now, I just want to throw in a couple of things here, because it could get quite deep, couldn't it, today?
Yep.
I mean, have a laugh, ladies and gentlemen, because at 20 to 7, hopefully you're watching, you'll be able to listen as well. Yesterday, Keir Starmer, imagine the euphoria down in Woking. McLaren headquarters, British brilliance. They win the Formula One World Championship in Abu Dhabi on Sunday with Lando Norris. Kisses his girlfriend. It's a great night. Spent 100 grand on a party.
Yeah.
What the? Sorry, what was that?
That was an added sound effect.
What's the world's quickest skate? Scott, a cake. I get skate. I got the joke wrong. Never mind. We're going back. Anyway, on a serious note. What would you want at the factory in Woking on a Monday morning when, we're world champions, we've done it?
Champagne.
Yeah. No, you got Keir Starmer. Oh, my God, this is brilliant. So Keir Starmer decided to go to McLaren and bore the backside off almost everybody. If you can see the footage, they all look bored. This is him yesterday at McLaren. Well done for winning the Formula World Championship. I give you Keir Starmer, ladies and gentlemen.
It's amazing to be here the day after Lando won yesterday, and I hope you've all got a smile on your faces because that interview with him afterwards, which I hope you've all seen, quite emotional, well, very emotional interview with him.
If you get a chance to watch it, every single person is like, oh, God, this is awful. He is, honestly, children's entertainer. He literally could send people to sleep. He is the most unpolished. I mean, there's a woman go, oh, like that. Literal hatred.
But he's so out of touch. He's completely out of touch.
He called him Landro as well, by the way. It's Lando.
I mean, the McLaren yesterday should have been party central of the universe, shouldn't it? With all of them enjoying
themselves.
Well, it was until
he arrived.
Behind locked doors, having fun, popping champagne corks, celebrating, planning what they're going to do next year to do it even better and go even faster and win it again.
Yeah.
And no,
that's the car.
That's the one. And then they have him rock up.
Yeah.
I mean,
ladies and gentlemen, Keir Starmer. There's a woman. Please watch the video online. She looks like literally she was boring herself to sleep. Paula, good morning.
Morning, Jeremy. It's Paula in Liverpool here. Great show. We've just come back from Dubai, and while we were there one night, we attended a light switch on, Christmas tree light switch on at a local hotel. It was fabulous. There was Christmas carols. There was a Father Christmas came in on horseback, and the audience was made up of so many different nationalities, religions, skin colours. It was brilliant, and nobody, not one person, was offended. So what on earth are we doing in this country apologising for ourselves? It really gets on my nerves. Thanks very much, Jeremy. Paula in Liverpool.
I love Paula, but I'm going to make a point. I think her story is slightly needs to be stripped apart. So she went to Dubai and they had lights. Now, lights can upset certain people who have visual impairments, so I think the lights are unfair. She also said Father Christmas. Does that mean a woman can't be married? What about Mother Christmas? Is that not being sexist? And what if Mother Christmas wanted to become a man and actually had a penis? Could she become Father Christmas? And then she said on horseback, well, what does that mean for the reindeer? Have they been cast aside like the small, vertically challenged people because you can't have dwarfs in pantomimes anymore? I think Dubai's really unfair.
Yeah, carbon footprint. Ed Miliband with all those lights. I mean, really.
Imagine him eating Mrs. Blexley.
It's not going to help us reach our net zero target, is it?
No.
It's utterly irresponsible.
She's right, though, isn't she, Paula? She's absolutely spot on.
She is. She nails it. Why are we being forced to apologise for all that stuff that we've been born and raised to love and enjoy and be proud of? Completely, well, I still am, and I'm not going to be cowed. I'm not going to be browbeaten. I'm not going to be stopped in any way, shape or form of, number one, telling the truth.
Yep.
And number two, enjoying the things that are important to me.
Yep.
And three, sticking by the values that have been ingrained into me for decades.
Said to my daughter the other day, we can disagree on many things. I love you having your own opinion, but if you think I am going to banish, destroy and ridicule everything your grandparents taught me, you've got another thing coming. Have your own mind, but do not, because it's what your generation does. It trashes everything that I was brought up to believe in. Richard says, stop calling them illegal immigrants. They are known only as rapists. That is a fact. Jez says, Chris, we are a Christian country. Starmer, by the way, is an atheist. He's mentioned it once. Communist. Don't believe in religion ethics to get the vote. I said it years ago. They will not vote a man or woman who is not in their faith. Very interesting. Hello to Vicky in Bournemouth, where it's raining. This government doesn't give a rat's arse about us. Not only have they not stopped the illegals, they've increased them by 50%. She says, I think we're genuinely in trouble. Mick says, wow, I thought it is now a crime to be a Christian in Britain. Even the bishops seem to have disappeared. Really? Peter Stone, these scumbag paedophile rapists should be castrated. Somebody told me once that if you do that to a paedophile, then it shows itself in a different way. It shows itself in violence. I don't know the truth on that. Jason's in Pompey. Morning, Jez. Morning, Pete. It's convenient that they estimated the ages of these monsters at 17 and not 18, so the media couldn't report on it. A simple cheek swab could have accurately told them their ages, but yet again it's not done because of their human rights. What about British young girls' human rights? Detain and deport is the only answer.
Exactly. This was in Leamington Spa, and I was in Leamington Spa a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, my eldest son and his girlfriend had their engagement party in a room above a pub in Leamington Spa, and we got up there in the afternoon, had a little mooch about. Lovely, absolute lovely kind of typical British spa market town. Absolutely wonderful. You would think a safe place to raise your kids, to go to work. Nope, not thanks to illegal immigrants coming over here and raping our kids. And once again, my thoughts remain with that poor girl. Bless her.
I would love to make today's news better. I've tried very hard. Let me know what makes you Christmassy. 87222. I've tried to make you laugh with Starmer. The next story is another one. So on the back of a man being banned from being a teacher for telling a Muslim child that Britain's a Christian state, on the basis of a 15-year-old schoolgirl being raped by 2 illegal immigrants, a tribunal ruled yesterday that the NHS harassed a nurse who dared to complain about sharing a female changing room with a transgender doctor. Sandy Peggy was suspended by the NHS in Fife after complaining about having to share a changing room with Dr Beth Upton, a biological male, right? I've got my thoughts on that. It comes as Starmer. This is going to send... Why have you done this to me? This is... I apologise to anybody listening. This comes as Keir Starmer faces a growing Labour revolt on giving children puberty blockers. I can't have this conversation. The over-sexualised attempts by anybody, puberty blockers to kids. I will tell a story that I've told many, many times about my daughter Ava. Severely dyslexic, turned her life around, absolutely fantastic, goes to this new school and says to me within 6 months, of the 33 kids, girls, that went to her new school, 11 had come out as not being aware of what they were and wanting to dress as this, that and the other. You will never get away, in my opinion, I could be wrong, phone me, text me, do whatever you want. I think people should be free to do what they want to do. But again, it goes back to what we were saying. We are getting to a point where I think people are like sheep. I think they're being attracted to these things. I think they're going with labels. And I think it's really bloody dangerous to give a puberty blocker to a child at what age? 8, 9, 10, 11, before they can decide who they are. What are we doing to biology, man? That's a disgrace. And West Streeting, I'm really disappointed in West Streeting. There's surely many people that don't like a lot of what Labour are. I thought he was better than that. I think that's a disgrace.
You stole my word, Mr. Carl. Dangerous. There's some very dangerous parents out there, you know. Very, very dangerous. Who would allow...
And politicians.
Yeah. Who would allow their children... Let's remember, these are children whose brains are not fully formed.
Precisely.
Whose thinking is not yet rationalised. Their brains are still growing. In boys, I think brains still grow until they're 21, 22,
Boys really develop later than girls, yeah.
You know, and girls still. These children, OK, let them have a dressing up box. Let a boy play with a doll. Let a girl play with an action man.
Me and Mrs. Carl are going to argue about that.
You know, I've known children women who were the absolute tomboys, whose jeans were dirtier than mine, who had more holes in them, and they were better footballers than me. And they
not difficult, is it?
And they could climb a tree better than me.
Not difficult.
And do you know what? They turned into the most gorgeous,
You're not allowed to say that.
Beautiful,
You're not allowed to say that.
Women
You're not allowed to say
I
that.
have ever come across.
You can't say gorgeous, beautiful or women. It could be a really ugly bloke with a penis.
Let them
pretending
explore,
to be a woman.
Let them grow.
Explore themselves.
Don't go shoving medication down their throats.
Sorry.
And don't go mutilating them.
My iris is 2. We have that message from Ricky about Pippa. How in the name of God, you're right actually, do parents allow a situation to develop where a kid is given a puberty blocker? Sorry, I'd love to hear what you think of this. There are certain things on this show and in this world that I find really difficult to talk about, and this is one of them. I've got 6 kids. I brought them all up, right? I'm sure I've made mistakes, but there's also, and people will hate this, what sort of parent are you if your child's going and doing that and you don't either know about it or you're not in control of the situation? I can categorically tell you that none of my children would ever take a puberty blocker. And when people go, well, what if they decided that they would? Well, I'd be talking to them, wouldn't I? And by the way, for the person who texted me earlier and said, well, what if your child turned around and said, I want to be a furry? Well, I'll tell you what I'd do. I'd put a cat bowl outside the back door and they wouldn't be allowed in the house. Morning, Sean.
Morning, Jeremy. Sean from Grimsby here. When I read that about that poor girl who was dragged away and raped by them two Afghans, it's absolutely horrific. You know, the problem with Afghanistan is the men. They're the problem in Afghanistan. They're running around stoning women, they're running around blocking off the windows so they can't see. So if the problem with Afghanistan is the men, why are we letting them here? You know, this is just common sense. Great show, mate.
This is from the migrant camps in Dunkirk.
It's a lot deeper and darker.
The French police are complicit every step of the way.
And that was when I heard the gunfire. You need to get out of here quick. They do not care about human life. They are dangerous people.
For 2 weeks, talk was undercover in those camps. This is an absolute scandal.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. What is it? 5 to 7, live across the UK. Talk where the nation comes to speak. Pete, I was just saying, imagine coming to this country for a day, right? Imagine landing in Great Britain, shooting into Talk and hearing the following. A teacher banned for working with children after telling a Muslim child we're a Christian state. A 15-year-old white schoolgirl raped by 2 Afghan illegal migrants who are 17 or 18. They're going to go to jail for about 3 years and then get new identities. They won't be deported. A tribunal saying that actually you really shouldn't criticise a woman who wants to become a man and a doctor. You should share a space with him, even though he has or hasn't got a penis, to a woman. And a man who, look, let's be honest, there he is, a paedophile, the Hugh Edwards, BBC star, supported by BBC stars as he plots a comeback. You'd arrive in this country and you'd go, what the hell am I doing? Before your next story, I need a bit of Christmas cheer. I've been asking for Christmas spirit stories. All we've had is Mrs. Blexley's Christmas lunch, which is akin to a... What is it?
It's amazing. It's the best Christmas lunch
my God, look
you
at
will
that.
ever taste.
That is some
It
thumbprint
is
on your forehead,
wonderful.
Blexley, isn't it? Anyway, Harvey, the musical genius of The Breakfast Show, is going to make me feel better. Take it away, Harv.
Morning, Jezza.
Morning, Jezza.
Morning, mate. It's Harvey from Home Hempstead, the creative musical genius. We've come up with a little jingle for you, and we hope you like it. It's beginning to look a lot like Britain. Flags on every pole. They're coming from us the seas, cause the benefits are free. Doctors, engineers, and dentistry. Cheers, Jezza. We hope you liked it. Have a good show.
I feel like they're a bit like me at home. They start well and finish appallingly.
That's the van I want to be in this morning.
I know,
Going to
what a
work
fan,
with those
boys. We
fellas.
love you, and thanks for
I
being...
want to go to work with those boys
I
today.
agree. Alarm clock, Britain. Harvey, we need it every day. You're a top man. Pete, just before you go, top of the Telegraph, you've a story you want to talk about quickly?
Banner headline, boat migrants smuggle in heroin. So not only are they coming in their dinghies, but they're stuffing and swallowing heroin because the checks here are so lax. And then what they do, when they get allocated to their hotel, the drug smugglers go and meet them in the hotel, retrieve the drugs, and go and sell them on the streets of Britain. Well done, Keir Starmer. Well done, the Border Force. Well done, the Home Office. Well done, everybody. That's the state of the nation.
Today in the Mail, says Sam, there is an article saying that there is a report into the Met and two-tier policing that supports that there is two-tier policing, and it recommends that Sadiq Khan should be stripped of his power over protest policing. I'd love to hear Peter's view on this very quickly.
I should be in charge of protest policing, then we'd all have it sorted out within the blink of an eye.
How would you sort out protest policing then? Come on.
If you chant for jihad, you get nicked, right? If you chant from the river to the sea, you get nicked.
Yeah, but if you get nicked, you get a human rights law because you'd offended my right to have an opinion.
But my officers will be very well trained in the gathering of evidence. Their evidence will be absolutely spot on, and our lawyers will argue that calling for jihad is not a moral struggle. OK? It's actually calling for a holy war.
I know, but I'm going to phone up the judge from number 10 and make sure that that judge basically says to those people, you absolutely have a right to do that, and I'd like to give you a free house.
But I'm a detective, so I'll know where he lives.
But there's no answer to him. The man's mad. I want to give him a shout-out, ladies and gentlemen. He's not going to be doing this for a while, only because next year a pensioner with glasses and a wife who cooks a great Sunday lunch is taking to the roads, the streets and the theatres of this country on an amazing one-man tour. 140 dates, aren't you?
Indeed.
He's going to be on Zoom, but he's going to find it difficult to come in at this time. You are going north to south and east to west, and it's a massive, massive thing, and people can get tickets. Where do they get the information from?
They can. If you go to peterblexley.com...
he's got his own website now.
All the venues, all the tickets are available there. I'll be coming to a theatre near you next year. It would be lovely to see you.
I'm coming.
It's a true crime show like no other.
I'm coming with my wife. She thinks it'll be fun. I've told her it won't be. Do I get freebies or have I got to buy?
You can join the queue like everybody else.
Do you know what? Don't pay him for this morning. It was a pathetic attempt anyway. Just to sum up, though, for people, and God bless you, and we wish you the best of luck with that.
Thank
and we'll
you.
see you in Christchurch. Just quickly, if you did arrive in this country and you did hear this madness, and I know we've spent an hour ranting and fingers crossed it's not always like that, we are at a seminal moment, aren't we, where we've only got a minute, but what's wrong with being British or Christian or proud of our country? I just don't know what's going on, man.
Whosoever forms the next government has to rip out the tentacles that were sown by Blair in '97 and have gone deeper and deeper and deeper. It started with political correctness, some of which was good to get rid of some language, but it was more sinister and it went deeper. And it's just drawing us ever, ever, ever closer towards extreme socialism, intolerance, and it's completely un-British. We've got to rip it out and reconnect.
PeterBlexley.com as the pensioner embarks on a 140-date tour of the United Kingdom in a one-man show, supported by Mrs. Blexley with a roast dinner. Pete, thank you, and the best of luck with that. It's almost 7 o'clock. We're live across the United Kingdom. JK at breakfast, please be involved. 0344 499 1000 with your voice notes. 87222 for your text. We, my friends, well, I have a wee. We'll do the news at 7 next on Talk.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
A very good morning to you. Welcome to a wet and windy Tuesday where, frankly, the news is not great. I'm not going to lie. We love your involvement, your reaction to the day's news, guests lined up, etc., etc. But as ever, voice notes, please. 0344 499 1000. Come on, Alarm Clock Britain. And your text, 87222. Not going to window dress it. This is what you're waking up to, right? And this is, honestly, people are infuriated, angry and opinionated. The main news stories today: a teacher has been banned from working with children at a primary school after telling a Muslim child that Britain's a Christian state. My question is simple. Are we still a Christian state? Are we allowed to say we're Christian? Because we're not allowed to fly our flag. I welcome every other creed and religion and race and identity, but why the hell are we, or have we, turned into apologists? It's an outrageous thing. The other story that's got you going is an appalling one. I'm not going to sort of dress it up. 2 Afghan teenage illegal migrants were jailed yesterday for raping a 15-year-old schoolgirl. She was brave enough to film the horror. One of the lawyers said, and I quote, that if they showed this in public, it would cause riots. The male should be absolutely commended. They went to court to get the names of these 2 heinous individuals named, and they've done that. But here's the question. We're going to pay, what, £44,000 a year for them? They got 10 years and 8 years, so under Labour's powers, they'll probably serve 3. They'll not come out with a new identity, so it'll have cost you about £250,000 to keep them in a life of luxury, despite what they did. Should we not deport them straight away? Just gone? Why do I want that? Sorry, if people think this is outrageous, why do I want those 2 heinous individuals in my country? I don't. I'm just fed up of hearing about cases like this, aren't you? And as if that's not enough to wind me up, Hugh Edwards, oh yeah, once the voice of News at 10, has spent how much money on a new pet? Look at, oh my God, coiffed hair, stubble, grinning. The paedophile, because that's what he is, has no shame. He apparently backed by some big-name BBC stars. We're trying to find out who is plotting a comeback. Just one thing, if you're part of Alarm Clock Britain, you're heading out in this weather to do your day's work, or your mother getting the kids ready for school, he got a pension of 200 grand because you pay a licence fee. This country has gone to the dogs. Morning, Bri.
Morning, Jake. Oh, it's bright from South End, and every day I'm just fuming. I get more and more effing annoyed and distraught every day. Yet another young British girl has had her life ruined because of these sick, illegal immigrants thinking they can do what they effing want to our young ladies of this country. And what does Starmer do? F all, he lets more in. You know, this man's a complete and utter, I won't say the word on here, but surely now the time has come, you know, let's start using our human rights. Let's get some right-wing human courts lawyer who's willing to stand up for the people of Britain and take them to court. You know, where's our human rights of a right to be protected, a right to feel safe in our own country? You know, let's take them to court and use the human courts right against this government for once and win it.
You've got to understand Brian's frustration. I absolutely share his frustration. We're all trying to, what, make a living, live within the confines of the law, get up on a winter's morning and do right by our families. And you hear stories like that and it drives you absolutely insane. Delighted to be joined first up this hour, former Labour MP, reformer now, Simon Danshire. Good morning.
Good morning. Good to be with you.
And you, Si. Great to have you on, son. I'm struggling the first hour today because I'm struggling with how to contain my rage, my anger. Let's start with that Afghan story. 2, they're illegal migrants, not asylum seekers, who came here on small boats, jailed for 10 years yesterday for raping a British schoolgirl who was that brave, Si. She videoed it. And the lawyer, and I quote, said, if this went public, it would cause riots. It is not racist to say that young men, unvetted young men with a different set of values, and for all those do-gooding people, listen, misogynistic values to the very women that you want to defend, are coming to this country, Si, irrespective of any checks, and are carrying out sexual offences. Now, the do-gooders say, but you can't label all of them. I'm not. I'm talking about these 2. They should be deported, shouldn't they, pal?
Absolutely. This vicious sexual attack on a 15-year-old schoolgirl is absolutely appalling, and it's got to be a wake-up call for the British people and for those in politics. As Rupert Lowe MP has said, these illegal immigrants' presence in Britain is a political choice. That's the reality of it. Our politicians are choosing to have these illegal immigrants coming into Britain, and under Keir Starmer, the numbers are going up. There are more and more of them coming into Britain. That's a political choice. If they had the political will.
All right, explain to me then, because you were a politician and I struggle with the morality of this sort of thing. You've described it, immigration, illegal immigration, as a political choice. So you're telling me that people in our government would prefer to flood this country with illegal migrants, whether they rape or carry out crimes, whatever that crime, because what, they'll be so grateful to come here, they'll vote for the government that allowed them to come in. Is that what we're talking about?
Well, we've all seen Labour politicians holding up signs saying refugees, asylum seekers, welcome here. I believe there are people within the Labour government, in the Labour Party, who believe in open borders. They have a view that Britain should be open to anybody and everybody who comes here. I mean, it's a ridiculous view. The vast majority of the British people wouldn't agree with it. But I think there are people in Labour that do have that view. And so they're fulfilling what they believe is right.
Even to the detriment of, and I hate the word, but I keep using it because I can't think of a better one, even to the detriment of the indigenous population. You're telling me that this government is so up its own backside, look at net zero, look at the immigration issues, that they don't care that millions of people in this country, and perhaps people who in the past wouldn't have been agitated and angry, are at their wits' end at what they see as a country that's lost its identity, its morality, its strength, its standing. Almost everything is being crushed. Anything we had in the past, everything we planned for the future. It really is quite depressing.
Yeah, I think people like Starmer look down on British culture. They don't celebrate it. He has no desire to perpetuate it. I think he has this sort of globalist view of the world, this North London leftist view of the world that he shares with Lord Hermer, that we should be multicultural, we should have people here from Africa and everywhere else, irrespective of the background. Just let the people in, and that's quite clearly what he's doing. And they come out with lots of nonsense about one in, one out to France and all the rest of it. I just think I've come to the conclusion they are just playing for time to allow more and more people to come into this country. And you know, you mentioned that I support reform. We have to have an alternative to what's gone before. We cannot keep letting people in. And this incident, this vile attack on a schoolgirl, has to be a wake-up call for the British people. I mean, it's absolutely appalling, but it's a political choice. A choice is being made to have these people in the country. Because if the political will was there, they could come out to the European Convention on Human Rights, they could get rid of these people, send them back to Afghanistan at a moment's notice.
It's really interesting because people always talk about political will. Karen's got some views on Starmer. Morning, Karen.
Hi, Jeremy. I think we have to understand what's really going on in this country. Keir Starmer hates the British citizen. He hates the working class. He's got a chip on his shoulder. He's got an inferiority complex as well. But he doesn't want anybody to do as well as he's had, especially from the working class background, even though he states he's from a working class background. But he doesn't want anybody else to do well. He's actually a dictator.
It's really interesting, actually, Si, because honestly, there's some wonderful footage that we've got. And if you're not watching online, on Sunday, Lando Norris brilliantly won the Formula One World Championship at driving in Abu Dhabi for McLaren, a British company based at Woking. And can you imagine, like, pitching up yesterday? Well, having worked for McLaren all your life, it's great. You know, we've won the World Championship. Brilliant. And what do? They send Keir Starmer round, who sends everybody to sleep, and all the people behind him are looking really hacked off. After he'd done that, he was asked about his leadership chances. Here's our devoted leader, ladies and gentlemen, Sir Keir Starmer.
You're talking about jobs for young people. A lot of speculation about your job this weekend. How unsettling is it?
Well, look, I'm absolutely focused on what I need to do to lead the country, and that's why today my focus is on announcing 50,000 extra apprentices. These are for young people.
Are your chances of leading the country diminishing?
No. We're introducing these apprentices today. I'm really pleased to be able to talk about that.
Simon Danshett, you were a Labour MP. Is he that divorced from reality? Can he not see and understand what's going on around him? They're all circling, aren't they? Ed Miliband, that's just frightening to me. Angela Rayner, she's on the way back. Still doesn't pay back the money, but apparently that doesn't matter. I think it is, and I'm not just saying this, because at the end of the Tories, I was very happy for a new government and I hope that they'd be better. I think he is probably the worst Prime Minister. I mean, Liz Truss didn't do great. This man there's no legacy. He's tarnished forever, isn't he?
Yes, he is the most unpopular Prime Minister, certainly in my lifetime. During the course of that speech that he made at McLaren, he actually literally says, I hope everybody has got a smile on their faces here at McLaren today, and everybody's having to stand behind him, and they look absolutely miserable because they're having to listen to his speech. But yeah, in terms of there's quite clearly... He doesn't believe there's a vacancy for his job, but there's quite clearly a competition already going on. You've named some of the runners and riders, Wes Streeting, Angela Rayner, Ed Miliband. They all want to take his place, and they are manoeuvring in the background. I spent 7 years in the Parliamentary Labour Party, so I know exactly how it works. They will be speaking to colleagues, other Labour MPs, trade union leaders, trying to build up some support to take over from Starmer.
In your opinion, you'd know better than most, who will be the next leader and thus Prime Minister?
That is a good question. I would put my money, if I was a betting man, on Wes Streeting. He's very popular. He's probably centre-right in terms of politics, a bit Blairite, but he's trying to appeal to those on the left. He's trying to cosy up to Angela Rayner. Not sure that will work. But when push comes to shove, I think it could be somebody like Wes Streeting.
Well, it's really interesting because I was going to wait for a minute. I'm going to take absolute aim at Wes Streeting this morning because I am absolutely raging about many things in the news. We've talked about Afghan teenage rapists. This to me is I mean, I'm going to read you something. Wes Streeting and Keir Starmer facing a growing Labour revolt on giving children puberty blockers. Children as young as 8 and 9, whether or not, presumably the parents are part of this, who are confused about their sexuality, right? And I've got a 6-year-old and a 2-year-old who are being given puberty blockers by a government. I'm going to go with Joe, and some people won't like this. Jez, in my opinion, giving puberty blockers to anyone under 18 is criminal child abuse. I do not understand, Simon, how in this country in 2025, this madness of trying to... It's just over-sexualised. It's just, to me, it's frightening. And I think Wes Streeting, who I have a bit of time for, I think this is an absolute disgrace. And I nail my colours firmly there.
Absolutely, I completely agree with you. I said something very similar on social media a few days ago. This is child abuse. I think there are 200 children in this NHS trial, and they are going to receive something that'll cause them will have a devastating impact on their lives. That's what I believe.
But how old are they? How old are they? They're 8 or 9, I'm told. At what point does an 8 or 9-year-old say, or am I living in a different world? Oh, I think I'm not sure who I am. I'll tell you what, take some puberty blockers for a few years and work it out. What parent allows that?
I find it bizarre, actually. I really do. Obviously, the child can't consent to it, so the parent is presumably having to consent to it. But it's certainly not a solution. Let the child grow up and make a decision once it becomes an adult. I mean, that's what we should be doing. And the health secretary should not be going along with it. No. I think Wes Streeting needs to think twice. But again, he'll be trying to appeal to those who in the party are in favour of trans rights, those on the left of the party who have a particular view on trans rights. He's probably trying to appeal to those.
Trans rights shouldn't be confused with 8-year-olds whose brains are not ready. And actually, you're right, I take aim at the parents. It can't be the kids who are are making this decision. It's got to be the parents. It frightens me. The other news story, and I'm sorry, because I'd love it to be a Christmas sort of, let's get in the spirit. No chance. A teacher. And your experience as the MP for Rochdale and the grooming gangs, I know that the Tories yesterday called for a massive grooming gang inquiry, including mosques must be made to cooperate. They demand for the grooming gangs inquiry, and foreign sex offenders kicked out. Today, we wake up to the story that a primary school teacher, Simon, has been banned from working with kids after telling a Muslim child that Britain is a Christian state. According to the kid who made the complaint, the teacher told them that the school was not religious, but that there was an Islamic school a mile away if they wished to attend. The primary school teacher was referred to the police and the local Child Protection Board because apparently in this country you can't talk about Christianity, you can't fly your flag, you can't do jack. And I think this is another example of what is happening to my country, genuinely.
I think we should have more teachers doing what this teacher has done, reminding people that we are a Christian country. That's exactly what we are. And if we had a decent government in place, the education secretary would be calling this out and demanding that the teacher is reinstated. That's what should be happening. We are a Christian country. It infuriates me. But we're seeing this change all the time. I was looking at my son's school holiday periods, and it doesn't say Christmas holidays, it says winter holidays.
Now you've got me. No, please. It doesn't say Christmas holiday.
No, that's what we've always known it as, haven't we? It says winter holidays because there's a proportion of, I presume, because there's a proportion of Muslim kids at the school, a good proportion, that they call it winter holidays. I mean, it's just the same mentality. It is infuriating.
So I can't call it Christmas now?
Well, but we see this on lots of products and services right throughout Christmas.
I want it to be happy. I wanted it to be happy today. I don't want to be this miserable. This reminds me of a story at the golf club with my son in the summer. This is genuinely true. H.U.'s just fantastic at golf, and we get to... I'm not going to name the golf club, and there's a starter, and I said, is there a junior tee? I think this was actually years ago, because Henry was probably much younger. Anyway, I said, well, there's no junior tee, you should play off the ladies' tee. And the bloke said, can I have a word? This is junior tee. And I went, yeah. And he went, we don't call it the ladies' tee anymore, we call it the forward tees. I mean, honestly, I mean, we can't say Christmas, we can't say women. You can go and change with a woman if you've got a penis. And I actually find myself sitting here thinking, I'm actually turning into my dad. If my dad, who's dead, by the way, if he was here, he wouldn't be able to understand what the hell was going on with this world. I'm beginning to feel like that, Sign. I'm only 60.
I think the good news is that we are beginning to turn a corner. People are beginning to revolt on a whole range of issues. We're fighting back slowly but surely and making some progress. And the really good news is this is probably the last Labour government in our lifetime.
Well, yeah, I think you're right, and it's just, I love having you on. So what are we going to do about Christmas songs, then? They won't be called Christmas songs, they'll be winter holiday songs.
Well, that reminds me...
Christmas cake's a winter holiday cake?
Yeah, exactly. Where does it finish? It's getting ridiculous.
It's beginning to look a lot like winter. Brilliant. Si, we love having you on. Thank you so much indeed. The legend, Simon Danczyk, former Labour MP. I once sat in a studio with Piers Morgan, who had an argument with a lady about what he could identify as. It's a fantastic clip. Anna, hello.
Morning, Jez. Anna, sorry. Right, absolute true story. A few years ago, 16-year-old decides she wants a birthday party. She attended a small private school on the, I'm going to say the Surrey Hampshire borders, because obviously I don't want to name it. It was a girls' school, and it suddenly became very progressive instead of thinking about the 3 R's. Anyway, managed to invite every single girl that was in that year. It wasn't a huge amount. They attended a slumber party. Every single one of them at that point identified as being lesbians. I mean, come on, Jez. So that suggests to me they were following a fashion. I'll guarantee you not one of those girls ever went near another lady's parts, honest to God. Strangely enough now, she's very happily ensconced with her male partner. Thank you. Bye-bye.
This is from the migrant camps in Dunkirk.
It's a lot deeper and darker.
The French police are complicit every step of the way.
And that was when I heard the gunfire. You need to get out of here quick. They do not care about human life. They are dangerous people.
For 2 weeks, talk was undercover in those camps. This is an absolute scandal.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Very good morning to you, 7:25. This is Talk with the Nation Comes to Speak. JK on breakfast. You're not waking up to great news, I'm not going to lie. Some outrageous headlines today. A teacher has been banned from working with kids after telling a Muslim child Britain's still a Christian state. Are we? Are we allowed to be a Christian state is the question this morning, because we can't fly our flag. We can't remember anything that we did in the past, because that's apparently all wrong. I worry about this. Shocking story, which is just getting stronger in terms of people's anger by the minute. 2 Afghan teenage illegal migrants jailed yesterday for raping a 15-year-old schoolgirl who was brave enough through the horror to video. Let me tell you that and it's everywhere now, that one of the lawyers in court yesterday said that this footage could never be made public, because it would cause a riot. I don't know about you, but I am fed up to the back teeth about hearing stories like this. I think it is disgusting. I think it's wrong. And people can go, oh, you know, what are you moaning about? I'll tell you what I'm moaning about. Our government's job is to look after and protect the people in this country, and it is not happening. Jez, Pete, where do I start? The country's gone to the rats. I escaped for Christmas and New Year, and I'm sitting here in the Philippines, a very Christian country. I don't want anything to do with the United Kingdom. Dean from East London, good morning. If those Afghans are not to be deported, maybe some bleeding heart liberal could house them in one of their own homes. Of course they won't, Dean. They will go to prison. They were given 10 years. They'll serve 30 or 40% because the Labour Party will let them out, because apparently that's a good thing. Then they'll get a new identity and they'll be back in the communities. Here's a question for you. If they were that age, they were put into a school by a system that doesn't even check. So the people that did that have that girl's life responsible for what happened to her. But I don't hear anybody of any... I mean, you wonderful people, but all those do-gooders, not a word about this girl, how she's completely ruined. Just these poor men have escaped. No, they're not poor men. They're unvetted, illegal migrants who come here with a different set of values, and, oh, dare I say it, misogynistic values to women, and carry out crimes. That doesn't mean I am saying that every single person does that. But when you have cases like this, it strengthens the argument, right, that we need to do more to protect our own people. What is wrong with that? That's not racist or outrageous. I've told this story before, I welcome people in this country who bring something work. Just embrace. There's a guy, I tell it all the time, picks me up at night when I used to drive, and Bangladeshi guy came in with his father and his brothers 40 years ago, and his dad said, make something of your life, pay tax, live. He loves it. He's more angry about illegal migration than I am. So let's get this real. These men are harming our girls. They shouldn't be in this country. Good morning, Mark.
Hey up, Jezza. Morning, PB. Well, you've got me fuming on a rant this morning, boys. Yeah, what about these migrants, these 2 Afghans? Why are they only possibly getting deported? Surely they should be deported ASAP. Or castrated. Anyway, this teacher as well, been banned from teaching kids here in a Christian country, here in Great Britain. What's so great about Great Britain? I don't know anymore. After serving my country 15 years in the army, I've come home to this. Absolutely devastated. Anyway, here we go. So we work in a distribution centre, from M&S, and we've got lots of Muslim friends who work here. The toilets, they've spent a fortune, over 20 grand getting these toilets fixed. After a week, none of the toilet seats are on because they all stand on the bloody toilets. And then they clear their throats into the sink, spit it into the sink. Do they wash the sink, rinse it out? No, they don't. Great show again, lads. Mark from Sheffield. All the best. Stay safe.
Good man. Margaret's in Birmingham. Morning, JK. We're supposed to be a Christian country, not anymore. Free speech, no. Borders protected, no. PM who's competent, no. PM who puts us at the back of the queue, yes. Christ, it's a really happy place to be this morning, isn't it, at 7:30? You're waking up to crap weather and crap news. But thank you for making it talk anyway. Robert Bates is the Research Director at the Centre for Migration Control. Robert, good morning. Welcome to our Happy Tuesday. God.
Morning, Jeremy. Yeah, there is a lot really reflecting the state of the country today. I don't think it's an awful set of headlines.
We've talked incessantly on this station about migration and sorry, has somebody just put a Christmas pudding on the talk thing? Is that the beginning of being Christmassy? I've just seen the graphics. It's been there since 6. Great. Happy Christmas, everybody. We should put a turkey on there. Oh, we're not allowed to. That'd be wrong, wouldn't it? That'll upset the cows or something. I can't even have the conversation. Can we get serious about this appalling story? 2 Afghan illegal migrants yesterday raping this girl, jailed. Surely at some point, Robert, somebody's going to go, these unvetted men need to be detained and deported straight away.
Well, it is staggering, actually, that such a conversation is just not happening in Westminster, because you're absolutely right. Every crime that is committed by an illegal migrant, and there are an endless procession of them at this point. I mean, just last month we heard of another Afghan migrant admitting to raping a 12-year-old in Nuneaton as well. So there is a almost daily deluge of these kind of things. Every single crime that is committed is directly downstream of decisions taken by politicians and the overly generous asylum system, which frankly at this point prioritises the rights of anyone from around the world other than British citizens. And I just do think of the trauma that this young girl will have to go through for many, many years ahead as a result of the barbarism that we let into our country and then allowed to wander the streets in a completely unavoidable state of affairs. And this is part of the reason why we do see certain nationalities are overrepresented in convictions for sexual offences, and Afghans are at the top of that list. The fact that politicians are either uncomfortable to even talk about that fact or very, very reluctant to take any steps to stop them committing these crimes, i.e. detaining them, really shows that we effectively live in a two-tier society at this point, where the rights of those that have broken into our country are actually trumping the right to safety and the right to well-being of the British public.
I don't think the British people have recovered from that situation down, of course, at the Bell Hotel in Epping, when the local council stuck up for the women and the mothers of these young girls, because there was a migrant hotel next door and a man had attacked a young girl. The government took the council to court and basically said the rights of migrants should be prioritised over those of the British girls. Let me just give a bit more detail for people tuning in. And can I salute the Daily Mail? It's not often I do that. They went to court to get the release of the names of these 2 scumbags, Afghans Yang Yahazeb and Isra Niyazal, both 17, had arrived months earlier in small boats before assaulting this poor 15-year-old girl in a park on May the 10th. In this distressing 3-minute clip, the girl could be heard crying, "You're going to rape me." She was dragged away. She'd been drinking with friends in Leamington Spa in Warwickshire. And I repeat to you, Robert, what I've been saying all morning, and I make no apology for it. One of the lawyers said that if this footage was shown, it's so horrific it would cause riots. The will of politicians, you say, is not there. Very soon, I don't think the British people are going to be prepared. I'm not talking about riots. I just don't think they're going to be prepared for this stuff to continue. It's abhorrent.
No, and I think, unfortunately, what we are actually seeing is a lot of corners of the establishment are now, rather than tackling the issues that would very justifiably make the British public so outraged, instances such as this, is they're trying to stage manage us. They're trying to control our reactions. They're concealing from us facts. You know, the fact that the Daily Mail had to actually go to court to get such information released, rather than it just being a matter of the administrative process that we're told what is going on in our country, really is indicative that the establishment, which thinks it knows best, is effectively trying to pull the wool over our eyes. We've got a real battle at the moment with proposals that the nationality of someone arrested or charged for an offence be released in the first place. And I actually think those arguing that this information is not in the public interest are doing so from a patronising place of condescension, and actually really only from a position of wanting to hide from the British public what is going on in our country. I mean, we have just enough data now to really understand actually the scale of the problem we do have on our hands here. A quarter of sexual assault and rape convictions last year were carried out by foreign nationals.
Right, let's just stop and let's just take a minute, because I want to be very, very clear about this. I think it becomes a point of debate when people throw out stuff, right? I want facts only. Just repeat what you just said. For all those people who go, well, either, you know, this is outrageous, none of them. There are far more white sexual offenders, or others who go, they're all this, they're all that. No, let's have some fact. What did you just say about rape and sexual crimes last year? 25%, a quarter of them, yes? You have this information, were carried out by foreign criminals, in effect, people coming into this country, yes?
In 2024, yes, and that is, of course, just those crimes for which individuals were convicted, and we know that there are very low conviction rates, and that doesn't take into account the smaller end of that spectrum, actually, the sort of the heckling, the catcalling, the intimidation as well.
But let's talk about that. 25% of sexual offences against young girls in this country are carried out by foreign criminals, people coming into this country with perhaps a different set of values, misogynistic views towards women. And you're telling me that there is not a politician in this government who considers that a disgrace to young girls, British girls, and wants to do something about it. You're telling me there's no will to identify that what we're seeing on screen, young unvetted men coming into this country willy-nilly, is a recipe for disaster?
I've heard absolutely nothing from this Labour government about what we do see when it comes to the data. I've not heard a single front bench or back bench MP mention that very, very basic fact, which comes directly from the Ministry of Justice and the police national computer. So that is, a quarter of sexual assault and rapes in this country were the result of a mass migration experiment that has been inflicted on the people of this country. And nationalities such as Afghans, we know, are roughly 20 times more likely to be convicted of a sexual offence than a Brit. I mean, when you compare them to other migrant groups, Australians, for instance, they're 135 times more likely to be convicted of a sexual offence.
And surely that has to be the conversation in a calm way that we have, which is that if you are brought up in a country with a different set of values, in this instance towards women, and you land in a country that has a different viewpoint of how you should treat women, that actually, if you can't adhere to those rules, you should be thrown out of that country or not allowed in the first place. I read something else today. Migrants crossing the Channel in small boats are bringing heroin into Britain on behalf of people smugglers. This is from The Telegraph. Asylum seekers are being offered free or cut price crossings from northern France if they swallow, honestly, my life, they swallow packets of Class A drugs and deliver them to organised criminal gangs in Britain. So we've got drug mules on boats now.
Well, I think this has probably been going on for a very long period of time. I mean, it's such an open door into the country. It's inevitable, actually, that some drug traffickers wouldn't have noticed the opportunity. The thing that's really concerning about this story, though, is the Home Office's position that we do not recognise these claims. We do not recognise this as something that is happening. Well, you wouldn't, would you? You're an effectively defunct government department that needs to be put in special measures. You presided over hundreds of thousands of people coming across the Channel. We're really not surprised at this point that you haven't worked out that a lot of them are coming in with very, very dangerous substances on their person as well. And this is really the problem here, isn't it? It's a Home Office that doesn't see what is happening in the Channel as a national security crisis that puts the British people at risk. It sees it at best as a political embarrassment that it knows it needs to deal with, but doesn't actually understand why people are so het up about it. But, you know, it's an endless procession now. If it's not drugs, of course, we've seen people involved in perhaps terrorist activities coming across the Channel as well. This is just such an open back door into whatever evil the rest of the world wants to throw into our back garden, that it is staggering. It's been allowed to continue for so many years.
Couldn't agree more, Robert. It's always a pleasure. We love having you on the show. Thank you. Robert Bates, Research Director at the Centre for Migration Control. We are at a point, surely, where something has to be done. By the way, can I just tee you up? Tomorrow night at 7 o'clock, an extraordinary programme presented by Isabel Oakeshott, of course. It's called The Undercover Migrant. I won't give too much away, but there is some completely never seen before footage, undercover footage, inside one of those migrant camps in Calais, which lays bare, and I mean lays bare, exactly what the reality is and how we're pumping money to the French who are doing nothing, and just how these gangs and this, it's orchestrated. It's an extraordinary programme. I think it's about an hour and a half. But Isabel Oakeshott live tomorrow night on Talk from 7 with The Undercover Migrant. Do not miss it. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. Morning, Pete.
Oh, Jezza, you and Peter need to start a new programme off, right, called the Pedo Files, right, where you go out and you catch all these pedos and bring them to justice. I think you two would make an absolutely fantastic team on this, because you're both on the ball and you both care about the girls in this country, unlike the government, who care absolutely nothing. The judicial system care absolutely nothing, and by the look of it, the police care absolutely nothing. Everybody seems to be fair game out there for these illegals, don't they? Because they know they're going to bloody well get away with it all the time. Well, it has to stop.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Good morning, my friends. Just gone 20 to 8. We're live across the United Kingdom. It's a wet and miserable Tuesday, and you're waking up to some... Listen, it's not light-hearted at all. It's horrible, horrible news. It's indicative, I think, of where we're at as a country, and it's creating some extraordinary response this morning. A teacher's been banned from working with kids after daring to tell a Muslim child that Britain is a Christian state. Parents complained, police got called, Child Protection Board judged this poor man, loses his job. Are we a Christian country still? Are we allowed to be a Christian country? I salute again Lord Toby Young, the Free Speech Union. Jesus, honestly, they're supporting this man. On the back of that, too, Afghan illegal migrants were jailed yesterday for raping a schoolgirl who filmed herself. Brave, brave, brave girl, 15. So horrific, said one of the lawyers in court, is the footage. It would cause riots if it went public. I don't know why we've got to a point where we're too frightened to deal with the reality here. And the reality, as we've been saying all morning, is if you unvetting let people, men, into this country and you don't know who they are, where they're from or what their views are, you're asking for trouble. And I would have thought that the duty of this government is to protect its people. Maybe I'm wrong. Steve, what do you make of it, pal?
Morning, both. Just a thought. I wonder how some of those MPs would feel, God forbid, if it was one of their daughters that were raped by these people who shouldn't be here in the first place. And about Starmer, honestly, the guy has got the personality of a breeze block.
Interesting. Can't even be called a brick. It's a breeze block. Good morning, JK. I have a 15-year-old daughter, and so does Starmer. The difference between us is that I am devastated by this news and so scared for my girl. But I bet you Starmer isn't even bothered. Shameful, says Sally in North London. Good morning to Margaret. Talk, JK, Have we heard from Shabana? No. Jess Phillips? No. Starmer? No. And how can they tell if these rapists were 17 years of age? They threw their passports in the bleeding channel. And yes, remember Yvette Cooper holding up that refugees are welcome. I'll tell you who I'd love to talk to, peeps, but they'd never come on. Old Zach, you know, Zach Polanski, the Greens, the man whose party is apparently, you know, climbing in the polls whilst a bunch of disillusioned liberals who have, you know, don't eat meat are going, he's the next great thing. This is the man who holds up a banner who says refugees are welcome. I wonder how Zach Polanski and all those people would answer the simple question this morning. What would you say to that 15-year-old schoolgirl? But Zach Polanski won't answer that question, because they won't. That's the frightening thing. Jez, where is the Archbishop of Canterbury? Why isn't the Church of England standing up for our Christian country? Enough is enough, says Paddy in Andover. I don't think you want to get me on the Church of England right now, and certainly that one's gone, hasn't he? What's that, Julian whatever, Woker? He's gone, hasn't he? There's a new one on the way. Maybe you're right. Jez, if I'd been in a coma for the past 10 years and woken up this morning and heard the conversation you're having, I would be thinking to myself, I must have been asleep for a whole day. And no, we are not a Christian country anymore. We are not. There seems to be a lot of people from other countries, a lot of Muslim people here, and our rights have dissipated, says Michael in God's country, which is Northumberland. Good morning to Pete. That poor 15-year-old girl that was raped by those illegal immigrants might now have to go through... Oh, I don't want to say that, but yeah, OK. Nobody knows what they did to her. I'm so angry. My blood pressure's off the scale about this. I have daughters and I have granddaughters, and I do not understand why our government is not stronger. We'll say a very good morning in Cumbria to Miranda. Miranda, good morning.
Hello, good morning. I was listening to you about the puberty blockers.
Can I just repeat this story for people just tuning in, because I've just been talking about rapists. This is another one that has absolutely infuriated you this morning, and I take aim this morning at Wes Streeting, who I believed was one of the more competent Labour ministers. He and Starmer quite rightly facing a growing Labour revolt on giving, ladies and gentlemen, children as young as 8, 200 are being tested, puberty blockers. So you're saying to an 8-year-old, via the parents, you're not sure about your sexuality, take this and you can make a decision later. Miranda, it's madness, isn't it?
It is, and I'm just wondering about the consent, 2 sides of the consent form, because these children need an informed consent. And the thing is, in years to come, who are they going to sue? They're quite clever, really, and Wes Streeting's going to hide behind this sovereign immunity. Essentially, if he said, look, I'm going to take responsibility for this if something goes wrong. But he hasn't, has he? No. And I used to run, and I used to train with lads because I was really quite good. And basically, I never once was confused about my sexuality, which probably I was quite lucky, and I didn't have parents who tried to manipulate me. And
this is a really interesting point, and I think we need to focus a little bit more on this. I mean, I'd go, some people won't agree, I think it's child abuse. I don't think an 8 or 9-year-old should be even contemplating questioning their sexuality. You can all phone me up and have a go at me, that's fine, but that's how I see that. That's my opinion. I'm entitled to it, you're entitled to yours. What about the bloody parents? And you're quite right, Miranda. What parent goes, yeah, I know you're 8, but you're not sure if you're a boy or a girl, so we'll give you some puberty blockers. Not Calpol, no, some puberty blockers, and you can decide in 5 or 6 years if you want to be a boy or a girl. That is utterly... listen, Miranda, I'm speechless this morning. I don't even think I should be doing this morning because I think I'm going to implode. I've got 6 kids. How bad a parent must you be?
I don't know, but I never once thought, when I used to play with my toy cars and trains, and I used to, I never once was confused. I never once thought I must be a dude. And I don't understand why these parents actually are thinking this. If the child might just be gay, and I think it's the worst form of conversion therapy ever to decide, we're just going to give them a load of drugs, and we don't even know.
But does a child, right? So you've just talked about gay, right? Yes. Again, I don't care. But the truth is, if a child is gay, do they know? I don't know what age they realise, but I guess it's a developmental thing. But to jump in at such a young age and go, right, you're obviously concerned. I think it's child abuse. I cannot believe that people think that this is acceptable. But maybe I live or come from a different world. But I think it's another example of well, I've always said it doesn't go down particularly well. I think we can blame the government from now to the end of time, but actually parents should take responsibility for their children. And this is, for me, an absolute abandonment of that. Extraordinary. Miranda, thank you so much indeed. I really appreciate it. Loads of you getting wound up about the teacher, loads of you getting wound up about the Afghan rapists, loads of you getting wound up about puberty blockers. David in Grimsby, a few years ago there was a rise in attacks on humans. What? Oh, yes, from a certain breed of dog. Not all of them, but there was a blanket ban and blanket safety precautions put in place to protect the public going forward. Not all migrants are bad and come with bad intentions, I agree, but for the safety of everybody, why can we allow people to roam free with no history of their character? I have no problem with migration, but it must be documented and we need to know who these people are. And Dave in Grimsby, that is exactly the balanced way that you have to look at it, because I will say some in this building maybe will disagree with what I'm saying here. Migration has been beneficial in certain instances, but it is out of control and it is putting people in this country at danger. And the responsibility is to look after your own people. Tony's in Southampton. Did this teacher who told the Muslim child that the UK is a Christian state speak only to that child, or was he speaking to the whole class? And one particular person has found it offensive and whinged about it. Good point. Pam Travis. Hi, Jez. In my opinion, when found guilty of any crime, any non-Brit should be deported immediately. Why should hard-working taxpayers foot the bill? Hopefully, that will act as a deterrent. I'm not sure anything will. Listen, 10 to 8. Your calls and your texts and your emails, very welcome. And it is Christmas soon. I've got a Christmas pudding on the top of talks. What are you getting? Because I don't feel full of cheer. Morning, Andy.
Ho, ho, ho. Good morning, Jeremy. It's Father Christmas here. You said you wanted some Christmas cheer on your show. Well, here we are. I maybe have some gifts for you as well, young man. Let me just check my incredibly large sack. But before I give you anything, I just want to check that you've been a good boy this year, in keeping with Christmas spirits. What's this I hear? You don't believe that a woman can have a penis? That's not looking good for you, Jeremy boy. What's this? You think that everybody should go out to work that should be able to, instead of sitting around on benefits they're entitled to have for nothing, at the expense of the taxpayer? Jeremy, where's your Christmas spirit? That's not good. Anyway, let me have a look in my sack. Oh, just some coal for you this year, Jeremy. Just some coal. Merry Christmas. Ho, ho, ho.
It's brilliant. I don't want you to look in your sack on my behalf, Andy. Coal's fine. That's all we used to have for Christmas. But I do think you should apparently, according to certain people, you can't be Father Christmas because a woman should be in charge. And also Christmas, we've heard in this hour, is also going to be banned. And it's now going to be known as winter or festive. So happy winter, whatever, back in 3. I'm saying.
This is from the migrant camps in Dunkirk.
It's a lot deeper and darker.
The French police are complicit every step of the way.
And that was when I heard the gunfire. You need to get out of there quick. They do not care about human life. They are dangerous people.
For 2 weeks, talk was undercover in those camps. This is an absolute scandal.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Well, my next guest this morning, it's been a while. It's a legend. Today he's pretending to be our royal correspondent, our loyal correspondent, more like it. Rupert Bell, good morning, Belly.
I'm very loyal to you, Jeremy, even if you are occasionally disloyal to me. But there we go.
When have I ever been disloyal to you, Belly?
Well, I can't actually think. Actually, I do apologise. I
Yes.
retract. Anyway, I'm just going to add something to this from a royal perspective about the Christian country that we are.
Supposed
the head
to be.
of state is, of course, the king, right? But he's also head of the church, which is the Anglican Church, also the Church of Scotland. And so we are, just in technical terms, a Christian country. Whatever your belief, we uphold Christian values. That's all I need to say on it. That is the fact of what this country is. We know we are a multi-faith country, but as a country, we still uphold Christian values.
Couldn't agree more, Belly. Absolutely in tune. I wanted to bring you on very quickly. Yesterday in the newspaper, it was all about Prince Harry. The big headline in The Sun, you know, my security view is going to be reviewed. Turns out he wrote to Shabana Mahmood asking for a review of the UK security. So presumably this backs up the belief that the Ginger One wants to return to these shores, which is ironic because all he seems to still be doing is slagging off the royal family, liking them yesterday in some interview in the States to like Downton Abbey, but with more drama. He did that ridiculous Colbert interview we showed yesterday where he took the mickey out of Trump. He just, I don't get, he's obviously desperate to come back to the United Kingdom, but can't stop kicking the thing that keeps feeding him, right?
Yeah, and he was talking at a British-American council event in Santa Monica, and he sort of likened, you know, life to Downton Abbey, one's real life and the other's a television show, and we clearly know what he was implying. So once again, but he was saying the individual, the Britishness, it doesn't matter what we stand for. Well, I don't think what we stand for is slagging off your family, which it appears to be what he's doing. But more importantly, if he's gone to Shabana Mohammed, who's got more than enough issues on her plate anyway, the fact is, Mother, could end up taxpayer-funded his security. Now, I don't disagree that he needs security, because he is, whether we like it or not, still a member of the royal family, just not a working member. But that means his status has changed. And every time he comes to this country, his security gets reviewed. He has to give them 30 days notice. So this is the problem, I think, because he spends most of his time dissing the royal family, but at the same time, he wants everything to come his way. And that sense of entitlement, I think, is what annoys so many people and probably members of his own family.
I think that word's a really good one, actually, entitlement, because, I'm a royalist, you're a royalist. There are people who are being encouraged not to be, I suspect, with all the shenanigans that have gone on. But when I think of William and Charles and Kate and everybody else, Sophie Wessex, the Duchess of Gloucester, extraordinary. People are putting the hard yards in. Princess Anne's a living example of that, and thus we as a nation give back. I find it galling as a taxpayer to think that because he's a prince that he doesn't want to be, and he doesn't want to live in this country, he wants to slag us off. When he chooses to deign us with his company, not that I want him here anyway, I'm supposed to pay for that. Pay for yourself. Either you're in or you're out. It's cake and eat it time. It's always been that way, in my opinion, with him and her. Always.
Yeah, and they want to be the sort of big celebrities and sort of calling the shots. And when he comes to this country, he wants to go on sort of quasi-royal tours and show everybody, look how wonderful I am and how much the public love me. And this is the problem for the royal family. He does still think that he is, has a very special case. I know he should have security because he is a member of the royal family, but it's the rest of his behaviour that I think people find reprehensible. And obviously, as a family, he's got his own issues with Thomas Markle in hospital. And, their talk of family, well, they seem to have a very misguided view of what family is all about. And they're lecturing us on how families come together. Well, she and he are part of a pretty divided family that makes even most soap operas look pretty tame by comparison.
Couldn't agree more. Love having you on, Belly. Succinctly done as ever, and a Christian through and through. Good man. Almost 8 o'clock. We're live across the UK. Can I just tell you again, on Wednesday, tomorrow night, 7 o'clock, Talk will bring you never-seen-before footage undercover from inside the world's most dangerous migrant camps in Calais, where gunfire is a nightly reality. Extraordinary new evidence that will prove that the French police basically escort migrants on public transport on the way to the beaches. It's all with Isabel Oakeshott tomorrow night. The Undercover Migrant, 7 o'clock, Wednesday on Talk. It's an extraordinary watch. Isabel and the Undercover Migrant tomorrow from 7, only on Talk. Right, the news at 8 on the way. More of your calls. We'll kick off next hour with Maggie Oliver and Helen Whately, the MP from the Tory party. News next.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
A very good morning to you, my friends. It's gone 8 o'clock. We're live across the UK. It's where the nation comes to talks, the home of Common Sense Talk. Thank you for tuning in. I just want to say to Rachel, Jez, you're sounding very Grinch-like this morning. Is that intentional? No, Rach, it's just, imagine what the news is. I'm not quite sure how you want me to sound. We're waking up to the news that a teacher has been banned from working with kids after telling a Muslim child that Britain is still a Christian state. This man's life has been torn apart. Police were called. Local Child Protection Board. Are we still a Christian country is my question. Is that Grinch-like? Are we allowed to be Christian? Because we're not allowed to fly our flag. Those are facts. Is that Grinch-like? But I will sound Grinch-like with the other story. 2 Afghan illegal migrants who came here on a boat yesterday jailed for raping a schoolgirl who was brave enough to film the horrific ordeal. She'll have PTSD for the rest of her life. They're going to serve, 3 or 4 years, come out with a new identity. They should be deported immediately. The KC, well, actually, one of the lawyers said, and I quote to the newspapers, that if this footage was released, if it would cause riots. Is that Grinch-like? No, I think that's fine. And then just to absolutely stuff it to everybody this morning, shame on Keir Starmer, Daily. Shame on Wes Streeting. A growing revolt on giving 200 kids testing, 8 and 9-year-old kids with puberty blockers. What the bloody hell is going on with my country? I have no shame at all in saying that. 0344 499 1000 for your voice notes. Text to 87222. Sean, good morning.
Jeremy, Sean and Leicester, about these Afghans that have raped that poor girl. Mate, I worked in the prison service for 20-odd years. We've got enough of our own wrong and we don't need to be importing people from other countries to come and wreak damage to the young ladies of the UK. We need to really sort out how we can stop these from coming in. Anyway, great show, buddy.
Thank you, Sean. Let's go live, only via sound because we've a technical issue. We say a very good morning to the Shadow Work and Pensions Secretary, Helen Whately. Helen, good morning.
Good morning.
Before we talk about what I consider to be Badenoch doing a good job again this week, I'd like your response to this news story this morning because, Helen, it is disgusting, it is despicable. People are raging with this. 2 Afghan teenage illegal migrants jailed yesterday for raping that 15-year-old. One of the judges said to the Daily Mail, who fought fair play to them to get the guys' names, that the footage is so horrific that one of the lawyers said it would cause riots if it went public. I guess, like everybody else, you're fed up with it, but I want to ask the question, how have successive governments not worked out how to stop young men, unvetted, coming into this country when we read, and this is a fact, Helen Whately, 25% of sexual offences last year were carried out by foreign criminals? It's got to stop.
Yeah, completely. I mean, it's disgusting, the specifics of that really horrific case. And as you say, the scale and those statistics that you just shared with people, I mean, this is the point that those small boats where we have people coming in here undocumented, we don't know anything about their background, that has got to stop. And goodness, I'm so frustrated. I know that we didn't manage to do it when we were in government. We wanted to. We came across endless barriers, including the lawfare, and the European Convention on Human Rights getting in the way. And now we see Keir Starmer making absolutely no progress. He made all those promises and people feel totally let down.
And I think that's the point. I think there comes a point. I don't know whether you're a mother. I've got 6 kids. I am sick to death of hearing there isn't a will. I would say to every parent, were they political or not, we have to get our heads in a space where a government's responsibility, without going on about it, is to protect the people in this country. And all the do-gooders who say, oh, you're being really unfair to these poor men. No, I'm not. No, they're unvetted. They're throwing their passports to the sea. And they're coming here with, I think this is really powerful, and they're coming here with very different views about how they should treat women. And you know, that to me is red rag to a bull. But I just wanted to take your take. I know you also want to talk, and I salute Kemi Badenoch on this, accusing Labour overnight of lacking the political courage to carry out that grooming gangs inquiry. We're not having one. Then we said we're having one, said the Labour Party. We've heard very, very little. And in fact, Kemi Badenoch goes further overnight, which I think people will also be interested in. She says that mosques must be made to cooperate with any grooming gangs inquiry, and foreign sex offenders, hurrah, need to be kicked out of the UK, Helen Whately.
Yes, I mean, what we've seen with the government on the grooming gangs inquiry is them dragging their feet every step of the way. It's clearly extremely politically difficult for them for some reason. I think to most of us looking at it and just the sheer horror of the scale over the many years and the failure to get to the bottom of it, and to see as that becomes clear, the government not leaning in and doing the most that they can do as fast as they can do is shocking and incredibly disappointing, clearly, for the victims who've come forward and had the courage to speak out about this. And that's why Kemi is so furious. And, she's been talking to the victims of the grooming gangs as well and wants to see justice done for them.
It's interesting for me, you said, is it politically motivated? But unlike many politicians, you talk from a moral stance, which I like. But the truth of the matter is there were 5 independent MPs voted into constituencies simply on the Gaza ticket last time. Let's take Jonathan Ashworth, who's... I know very well, who lost his seat. He was going to be a cabinet minister. He lost by a few hundred seats to an independent who stood simply on Gaza. Would it be fair to suggest that the Labour Party is terrified of upsetting that Muslim vote, 4 or 5 million, by perhaps carrying this out? And for people who think that's an outrage, go and read the interview I did with the Chief Constable of Rotherham several months ago, who said we probably were a little bit, slow in dealing with this because we didn't want to stir up trouble amongst different races and religions in the area. For me, I don't know about you, I don't care about where you come from or the colour of your skin. I don't want kids being attacked in this country willy-nilly, like I don't want young girls being attacked. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, what we need to see is the government having the courage to do the right thing on this and not being worried about some of their MPs who are sitting on small majorities and don't want to upset certain groups within their constituencies. I mean, I think the fact is, as you're putting it, we have to get to the bottom of this, and we have to get it to stop. It's the most disgusting thing that's been happening to girls. And we can't allow people's worries about how many votes they'll get from which groups in future elections to stop that getting fixed. I
want to just quickly, before I let you go, the Tories have also pledged today to block mobility access. This is presumably cars for people with ADHD and anxiety. Jesus, about time. Kemi said the proposal to tighten the rules was fair, proportionate and reduces the burden on taxpayers. I wouldn't be doing my job correctly, Helen, and we love having you on, if I didn't ask you this. Leaving the ECHR, being stronger on immigration, blocking mobility. Why was none of this in the psyche of you guys when you were in government? Because this sort of stuff has been spouted by Reform for months, and it does to a lot of people, cynics say, you're playing catch-up. Why was not this mobility thing? Why was not all of those things that are speaking common sense to the Conservative voter in this country? Why has it taken Reform to lead the way, do you think?
Well, on the mobility point, so yes, we have said that we wouldn't allow people to continue to get those government taxpayer-funded cars unless they have severe disabilities. And the main reason why you're seeing such an increase in people claiming sickness benefits and then getting access to the cars is people getting benefits for common low-level mental health problems, things like anxiety or neurodiversity, specifically ADHD. So we've said we put a stop to that. We actually did try and reform that when we were in government, and this is the connection to the ECHR. And actually, there was a legal block because of our membership of the European Convention on Human Rights that stopped us doing that. To your question, why didn't we get out of it before the election? I mean, I think there was lots of toing and froing amongst the Conservative MPs at the time about that. What I would say is, we're now under new leadership, and Kemi Badenoch is taking a very clear position on this. She did a review about looking at in detail the questions about what the implications of leaving the ECHR and how would it affect Northern Ireland and Good Friday Agreement and questions like that. And she came to the clear conclusion, supported by her shadow cabinet, that we should leave because it's necessary to do things like stopping the small boats, deporting people who shouldn't be here in the UK, and indeed things like cracking down on the abuse of our benefit system.
Really good to have you on, and I genuinely appreciate it. It's good to get the Conservative view. It's important. If only our current government, who used to speak to me the whole time, but they won't come on this show, apparently, for reasons that we don't really understand. Helen Whately, Shadow Work and Pension Secretary from the Tory Party, thank you very much indeed. 12 minutes past 8. Only one way to follow that. On the day that the Tories call for political courage to carry out the grooming gangs inquiry, on the day that 2 Afghan teenage asylum seekers, illegal migrants, were jailed for raping a young girl who was brave enough brave enough to video it. Only one person to have on. She's a legend. The former detective constable with Greater Manchester Police, whistleblower on the Rochdale grooming gangs case. Maggie Oliver. Mags, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Jeremy. Lovely to see you.
And you, my darling. Kemi Badenoch yesterday accusing Labour of lacking political courage to carry out the grooming gangs probe that looks at a role of Asian and Pakistani men in crimes. There she was on stage with victims of Chris Philp. She also added, Mags, that mosques must be made to cooperate with this inquiry, and foreign sex offenders kicked out to the UK. Good words, or are you frustrated that it's always words?
Well, I don't mean to be disrespectful to the lady who was just on, and I don't disagree with Kemi Badenoch's words, but the whole conversation and the whole fiasco falls apart for me, Jeremy, because the Conservatives had 14 years in power to do every one of those things that they're now talking about, and they did nothing. Back in 2013, I submitted a report to the Home Office Select Committee led by Keith Vaz, if you remember. Yes. All of that. And, you know, several of the things that were in that report are being talked about still today, including the mandatory recording of ethnicity of child sexual abusers from the Pakistani Muslim grooming gangs. They chose to do nothing and bury it. We had the National Abuse Inquiry chaired by Alexis Jay that reported over 3 years ago with 20 recommendations. The Conservatives chose to just ignore those recommendations, which included the mandatory recording of ethnicity and all of those things. So I just want to point out to you now and make your listeners aware that this year, me and my little charity, the Maggie Oliver Foundation...
It's amazing charity. Amazing.
Thank you. We have been funded by 2 private benefactors to take the government to a judicial review. And yesterday, we were given leave to do that. And we have a court hearing in the Supreme Court on the 3rd of February next year, when we will challenge them and force them, or try to force them, to implement at least those 20 recommendations. Now, Baroness Casey's audit was firmly rooted in the premise that those 20 recommendations were already in place, and they are not. What we've got here, Jeremy, is party politics, playing around with children's lives. I would like to see them all come together. You know, the people in this country, you, me, everybody knows that this is complete and utter game playing. They're kicking the ball down the road, and they're trying to, you know, we have semantics and promises and words. And with the greatest respect, I mean, Fiona, who was in the press conference yesterday, is an incredible young woman, as is Eliane, as is Elizabeth. They all resigned from this survivor panel because survivors are being set against each other. Yep. This should be a grooming gang inquiry.
I think this is, Mags, I've said this every time we've spoken, and I love you, I'll do whatever for your charity. I think you are an absolute superstar in this country because you care, and you've been met with barrier after barrier. But this isn't, you know, this is not about Starmer or even Badenoch. No. I find it galling. I find it, I don't even know the right words, to think that so many people have covered this up for so long. I think it's a stain on our society. And the excuses, the rhetoric, the chances... I don't understand how anybody who's either seen a child, had a child, been related to a child, can look themselves in the mirror.
Me too.
This is an absolute disgrace, and we've hidden behind, you know... It was a fact in Rotherham that 83% of the defendants were British Pakistani men. Before the do-gooders jump up and down, yes, there are plenty of men, white men, who commit heinous crimes against kids. And I'll repeat again what I've said. I don't care the colour of your skin. I don't care your ethnicity, where you come from, your religion, your creed, whatever. I care about kids being abused, like the story of the 2 Afghan teenage rapists yesterday jailed. A 15-year-old girl cannot walk through a park without 2 men who were boys who come from somewhere where they don't have the same rules. This is not racist, this is factual. They have a different view about women, and we'll keep them in jail for 5 years whilst paying them and then give them a new identity. I don't understand why we are not stronger on what I call basic human values. And if that makes me a Grinch, Rachel, it makes me a Grinch. That's how I feel.
No, you know, I think 99% of the people in this country would agree with every word you've just said. And, you know, I'm not racist, and abuse comes in all shapes and forms. And, you know, we did have a lot, you know, we had a cover-up of abuse in the Catholic Church, in the Church of England. But it is only this kind of abuse that's been perpetrated by predominantly Pakistani Muslim men that I have seen the state cover it up. Police, councils, social services, they have all tried to hide it. And I do want to open up a conversation. I want the mosques to become involved. I want the decent people in the Muslim community to join the debate, because our country cannot survive unless we get a grip of all these issues. We can't have men walking around and boys, well, it's men, young men walking around with different belief systems to us, thinking it's okay to rape a 15-year-old girl. But the horror of it, Jeremy, is also that the courts and the establishment tried to cover up that truth.
Can I just ask you that? The courts and the establishment, this is where I struggle. I've been honest. In everything I've ever done, I've been honest. So I'm saying this to you, I'm struggling as a 60-year-old man to think that people in courts or the establishment, local politicians, the NHS, the police, are prepared morally to cover this up. How? Why? What does that say? Why?
You know what, Jeremy? You know, this has been 20 years of my life, and that's why I lost my job, because I couldn't get my head around it then when I resigned, and I can't now. You know, my charity, we don't accept a penny from the government or commissioned money, because they seem to want to cover up the truth, to pretend it's not happening. And I promised myself the day I resigned that I will speak the truth, whatever the consequences, because the truth can hurt. But because successive political parties have lied and have covered up, they've lost credibility, they've lost the trust of the country. And this is what we are seeing now. There is no justice system in this country anymore. You're more likely to go to prison for putting something on Facebook than you are for raping a child. And I will never stop saying this, even if it's not popular. But you know what, Jeremy? Because of you and talk and very notable exceptions to mainstream media, this conversation is never going to go away until it's resolved. And I do believe that people power now will drive this forward. And
do you know what sustains me when I do stories? Because you're amazing. You know what I think of you. I think that you know, alarm clock Brits, as I call them, just hard-working, normal people, men and women who just live their lives in the confines of the law, pay the taxes, bring their kids up. Literally, their mouths drop open with stories like this, and they go, "What happened to this nation? What happened to being looked after by your government, being protected by the police?" I mean, it's such an appalling state of affairs. But somebody sent me, I haven't said this to you, Max, but somebody sent me a text a few weeks ago, and I thought it was really interesting. This guy just said, whatever political persuasion you are, he said, I believe that the silent majority have woken up in the United Kingdom, and whatever party is in power, they're in for a rough ride, because things like this, you know, all these do-gooders, you know who I'm talking about, you know, these poor men came to this country for Eritrea. I don't hear any of those women saying anything about that 15-year-old girl. Oh, we must feel very sorry for these British Pakistani men. No. You raped 8-year-old girls, you were given legal aid and you've spent it on a house in Pakistan. You're taking the PISS out of hard-working Brits. We're not racist, we're not far right, we're simply saying these are the rules, this is how the rules you play by, let's play fair and square. You're welcome to bring something to this country, but actually do you not bring anything, a lot of you. You're actually taking advantage and putting people in this country in danger. If that's wrong to say like you, I ain't going to stop saying it, because it's the truth.
I'm the same as you. You know, I feel exactly the same, Jeremy. You know, I welcome people from different backgrounds.
And me. Absolutely.
Who add to our country, who contribute, who learn English, who live within our community.
And provide. Take a job, pay some tax. Like friends I know that have set up businesses, for Christ's sake.
I don't think ordinary, decent people would disagree with that. I love travelling. I love, you know, different cultures, different belief systems. But we cannot be an open door for people who want to come and live their lifestyle in our country and not integrate. We, you know, I don't know how we turn the clock back. I truly don't, Jeremy. I mean,
by having this conversation repeatedly and understanding that people completely. I mean, when we were talking about this grooming gangs inquiry, every single person that contacted this station said you should share it. You're a shining light in a sea of just, I just think, misery. And people will say, oh, why are you talking about that? Because did you wake up this morning to a teacher being banned from saying that we're a Christian country?
It's
Two young
shocking.
rapists thinking it's all right to rape a 15-year-old, and a health secretary who gives puberty blockers to 8-year-old children. I despair, mate, but I'm not going to stop the fight.
And I'm the same. You know, I really, you know, I sometimes look at myself and people that I know, and I know a wide spread of people, and I sometimes think, you know, is this what previous generations used to say? You know, when you say, oh, it's not like it was in my day. But these are basic principles of right and wrong and good and bad. And if we can't protect our children, then what are we saying about the UK as a country? We are finished. And, you know, I think that the UK is worth fighting for, and our principles and our values have to be upheld. So I walked away from the state, and I've created my own little charity, because I do think one voice grows to 2, grows to 10, and now we've got, I think, the vast majority of people in our country are on the same page.
I completely agree. And if reform do get in, you should be the Minister for Children. The Maggie Oliver Foundation, by the way, for people, is an extraordinary thing. They can go and find out more online, Mags, yeah?
Yeah, just go to the website. It's you know, it's challenging, especially when we've got victims who have now got a 6-year wait to trials in 2031. Can you believe it?
No.
For rape? But yeah, please come, please support us, and yeah, spread the word and stick to our guns. We must not let this go. We just mustn't, and I don't think we will.
We won't here, mate, you know that. And as ever, thank you so much for your time. The legendary Dame, I'd say Dame, I'm going to make her a Dame anyway. Maggie Oliver should be a bloody Dame. Listen, she got to her job as a whistleblower. She knows what went on with those grooming gang inquiries, and she, like so many others, just find it just unbelievable that we're still fighting for that grooming gang inquiry. Whether it's political or it's the establishment, they need to understand it's not going to go away. The British people will demand that Maggie Oliver is able to stand in front of that tribunal and say, what about these victims? Why are we being the way we are? Love to know your thoughts on that. 0344 499 1000. Text to 87222. Amongst all the misery, apparently according to Rachel I'm a Grinch, amongst all the misery, it's Christmas. It's Christmas, although somebody said this morning we're not allowed to call it Christmas anymore because that might upset other people, so we have to call it festive. So, Mike, on the erosion of the festive period. Morning.
Hi, Jezza. Mike from Liverpool. I think there's an awful lot of Christmas stuff that's being missed out. Did you know that the supermarkets are no longer selling Christmas trees? It's called evergreen trees. Did you know they're no longer selling Christmas cake? It's called white iced cake. This is just the beginning.
It's beginning to look a lot like winter, 'cause you can't call it Christmas anymore.
This is from the migrant camps in Dunkirk.
It's a lot deeper and darker.
The French police are complicit every step of the way.
And that was when I heard the gunfire. You need to get out of there quick. They do not care about human life. They are dangerous people.
For 2 weeks, talk was undercover in those camps. This is an absolute scandal.
across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Yeah, it is the home of common sense, because let's be honest, there isn't much in this country of common sense right now. A teacher today waking up to has been banned from working with kids after telling a Muslim child that Britain's a Christian state. Apparently we can't be Christian. 2 Afghan teenage asylum seekers jailed yesterday for raping a schoolgirl who was brave enough to film at 15 years of age. I want to go back to this all morning. You're rightly outraged about this. The footage was so horrific, said one of the lawyers, that if it was released to the public, right, it would cause riots. We have to do something about illegal men, right, not from a war-torn country, do-gooders, illegal men coming to this country, right, willy-nilly, throwing their passports in the sea, being completely unvetted and ending up attacking young British girls. By the way, another reminder, tomorrow night, 7 o'clock, Wednesday, on Talk, you'll never seen before footage from the world's most dangerous migrant camps in Calais. This is with Isabel Oakeshott. There's an extraordinary evidence that will show the French police escorting migrants on public transport to the beaches. We're paying them 500 million quid a year, and they are complicit in this. It's called The Undercover Migrant with Isabel Oakeshott. Be fantastic tomorrow night at 7. Because what's happening, whether we like it or not, is men with different values are coming to this country and attacking young English girls. It's not racist, that's a fact. Pete, good morning.
Morning, Jez. Pete from Lancashire. In regards to them 2 lads who have done that to that poor girl, I'd send them back to the tally, mate. They'd probably lose their heads, but hey-ho. Listen, you take care, mate. Ta-da.
You see, some people will listen to that voice note and go, well, that's a bit outrageous. Is it? What about this 15-year-old girl for the rest of her life? Any thoughts about her? Let me know. We're going to say a very good morning next to the legend, Ross Clark, columnist for The Sun. How are you, Ross?
Good morning, Jeremy. Fine, thanks.
Lots of anger in this studio this morning about what's going on in this world. Extraordinary headline in your column this morning. Well done, Labour, for creating 55,000 jobs for young people. But what about the other 891,000? Is this what he went to McLaren to do yesterday, was it?
Yes.
Before we get serious, have you seen the footage? Can I just say, I said this earlier, yesterday was a great day at McLaren in Woking, a British company. They just won the Formula One World Championship at Abu Dhabi. Lando Norris, not Landro, Starmer, you idiot. Lando Norris had won the Formula One World Championship. What better way to celebrate on a Monday, not with champagne and cake? Let's bring the boring Prime Minister of the United Kingdom round. Just if you are watching on YouTube, and I know that Ross will love this, just look at the faces of the miserable sods behind him. They're supposed to be celebrating. This was Keir Starmer yesterday at McLaren. Have a watch.
It's amazing to be here the day after Lando won yesterday, and I hope you've all got a smile on your faces because that interview with him afterwards, which I hope you've all seen, quite emotional, well, very emotional interview with him.
It just doesn't, Ross, ever get any better for Keir Starmer, does it, my friend?
No, there's great smiles on the staff of McLaren there, as you can say. No. What Labour has done, the government's doing, firstly, they're doing something actually that's quite good in that they're creating sort of 55,000 work placements for 18 to 21-year-olds.
Apprenticeships, as was what we used to call them, yeah?
Yes, yeah, for who've been unemployed for 18 months.
Right.
And they're saying, you know, you take one of these work placements, if you refuse it, your benefits will be cut off. Now, I don't really believe that will happen because, you know, we know what happens when Labour backbenchers get their hands around these proposals. They squash them and then feeble old Starmer retreats. But the wider picture, of course, is we got not 55,000, we've got nearly 1 million young people who are so-called NEETs, not in education, employment or training. Simultaneously, the government, of course, is trying to make it harder for employers to create proper, long-lasting jobs which could form the basis of careers for young people. We've got you've got the national insurance contributions, which have costs of 125,000 jobs in the past year. We've got the raising the national minimum wage to an inappropriately high level that is actually discouraging the creation of jobs. And then we've got this monster that is the Employment Rights Act, which seems to be dictated by Angela Rayner, even though she's sort of theoretically left office, which is, you know, threatening employers with unlimited fines and going to give you the right to take a week off if you're, you know, distant cousin 3 times removed has died, or
you can take 6 months off for anxiety if your uncle dies. Can I say what I love about what you've just said is of course we should salute apprenticeships. I worked years ago with the Sun Employment Roadshow tours, and apprenticeships I think are something to be absolutely lauded, not just for young kids but maybe returners to work, mums going back to work, people who are in their 50s, all that. So yeah, well done on that. But you're right, there's another 895,000, and of course the Labour backbenchers will not like what you said, which is, listen, if you don't go and put yourself about a bit and give something back and get something on your CV and get motivated, we're going to stop your benefits. Because here's the thing, benefits were never meant to be a career choice. They were supposed to be a safety net. They have become, I'm afraid, and all the people, lots of people will say, but yes, there are many genuine people on benefits, but there are many people gaming the system to the detriment of genuine people, or people who have never asked before, actually. And so I've always said that we should, as a society, give something back whilst we're trying to get employment. Go and cut grass, paint some lady's back, or whatever it is. Give something back to the community in return for what we're giving you.
Yes, and I mean, nobody who's genuinely wants to work and is genuinely unemployed through no choice of their own, none of those people are going to turn down a work placement, are they, willingly? No. I mean, if you've been unemployed for 18 months, you want to work, you're going to jump at the opportunity for a work placement, apprenticeship or whatever, even if it's in something that you've not necessarily occurred to you to do before. But there's echoes of what the government has proposed. I say I don't really believe they'll do it, but to a pilot scheme that was done by John Major nearly 30 years ago, where similarly long-term unemployed were offered work placements. If they didn't take them, they would lose their benefits. You know what happened? Well, firstly, a lot of people did get permanent jobs as a result of it, but I mean, nearly a third of them, I think, just stopped claiming the benefits. And I mean, what does that tell you? They were probably claiming fraudulently to begin with. I mean, some of these people probably didn't exist. They're probably out in
extraordinary how the system is
Bulgaria or
going.
wherever. It's you know, the compulsory work placements not only will give opportunities to people, but they will expose the fraud that we've seen in some of these mass welfare claims.
Really appreciate your time, Ross. Always quick, but always great to have you here. Ross Clark, whose column this morning, page 12 of The Sun, well worth a read. Well done to him. 25 to 9. So many of you responding to the news of the day. The teacher banned for telling a Muslim child that it's a Christian country. The 2 Afghan rapists who came to this country illegally and thought it was all right to attack a poor 15-year-old. The lawyer saying that if this footage was ever made public, it would cause riots. And I take aim this morning at West Streeting and Keir Starmer less so. We're going to give puberty blockers to 8-year-olds. Loads of you. Morning, Jay Cam. Sick to death of this bloody government. That poor girl going to prison for these 2 individuals is not enough. I would bring back corporal punishment. Steve in Lincoln. Keith in Oswestry. Why was that story about the young girl being raped on page 23? Surely it should be on the front page. Very interesting. Good morning to Anna. Did these apparently 17-year-old Afghan illegals prove they were in fact 17 with birth certificates, or did the government place them in our schools with our innocent children on their word? That's the point. Keith's in Wolves this morning. Hi, Jess. Take a look at that video of Starmer at the point of him saying, I hope you've all got a smile on your faces. They all look really miserable. Yeah, they do, because he is miserable company. Dave, good morning, Jezza. We're just back from Krakow for Christmas, totally safe and enjoyed by all religions and creeds. Right, you crack on then. See what I did there? Never mind. I lived in Dubai, says Sam, and they just celebrated National Day. Flags everywhere, and they don't apologise for who they are. If you don't like what they think or say or their attitude, why don't you just get the hell out of this country? Anon. I mean, what does that mean? Anyway, somebody from Manchester. Why don't we? Well, yeah. Why is it we don't seem to have the issues that we have with the Muslim community, with the Hindu community, the Sikh community, the Jewish community? Is that me or is that a fact? Interesting. Steve, morning, Jez. You ask, why is this government not looking after the native population? They are. They're protecting the new and upcoming population, which they wish to increase by the millions to protect GDP and the multinationals. The native population are being hung out to dry. You mean the older generation? My brother is a professor. Really? Who shook the hands of all the new graduate doctors this week. At least 300 of them had blue hair, face piercing and were non-binary. Oh, Jesus. These are not like doctors who graduated in my day. See the doctor now. God, he's got blue hair and an earring. Never mind, doesn't matter. I'm sure he's a great doctor. Why does Starmer and Rees insist on doing pieces to camera with a clearly forced workforce behind them? This mob just became world champs. God, they look completely hacked off. Absolutely. Morning, JK. I'm confused. What benefit do we get from having illegal migrants in this country? It totally baffles me. Take the last two that have been sentenced for raping a 15-year-old girl. They will probably be let out by mistake next week, most of them. This country needs a massive reset, and a general election needs calling for this government before this government has to deal with civil war. I'm an alarm clock Brit, and I'm getting to the point if I can't even be bothered to get up at 4 a.m. and do my 12-hour shift because my country's screwed. I hope you have a less depressing day than I will. Great. Excellent. Good morning. Oh, whereabouts is Emma? Looking in the wrong place again. Where does it say? Good morning, Phil. How are you?
Morning, Jeremy. Phil from Hastings again. Those lefties and all those people on Facebook writing their rubbish. They don't care about a 15-year-old girl. They really don't care. She is given up on the altar of multiculturalism for these people so that they can have a feel-good factor about how loving and bloody human they are. I'm sick to death of this country. I'm sick to death of how it's run. I'm sick completely to my core of it all. Thanks, mate. Great show.
Yeah, it's exactly how I feel, but apparently that makes me a Grinch. Wayne, good morning.
This festive season, when you put up your evergreen tree and you're having your festive meal with your family, don't forget to put on some music. Now, that's what I call festive season. Some fantastic tunes like Last Festive Season, They Gave You My Heart, and Do They Know It's Festive Time? And of course, Noddy Holding's smash hit, It's Festive Time!
Love it. To the break, back in 3.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
A very good morning. Welcome to Talk Breakfast. Julia Hartley-Brewer here from 10. Ian Collins from 1 o'clock this afternoon. We're live across the UK. It's where the nation comes to talk. You are incandescent with rage this morning about these stories. So puberty blockers, I presume these are issued under prescription, says Gary. As such, this would need to be signed off by a doctor, so the Hippocratic Oath is finished. No more ethics. Who's this? Carl in Manchester. Illegal migrants should not be given the opportunity to commit crime. Put them in secure places until they can be deported. I'd go further, probably, Carl. Don't let them set foot in your country. Maggie in London. So the convicted, arrogant Hugh Edwards is trying to make a comeback. Where? Who would employ this convicted paedophile? This is the front of the Daily Mail. That, you can see it on screen, that man, oh, God, a paedophile who got a suspended jail sentence for looking at over 10,000 images of young children. Our children is still getting a gold-plated pension from the BBC, and we're all going to work. It doesn't make sense. Listen, I need a spring in my step and my hat at a jaunty angle. There's only one man to make me smile. Charlie Rowley, good morning.
Good morning. Hi, Jeremy.
Where are you? Why aren't you in here with me?
Well, I could be.
Well, I mean, you weren't, and I'm most disappointed, CR. What's happened? It's all gone wrong.
Well, next time I'll be there in person. Very happy to, any time.
You're very kind. I'm struggling this morning, so I needed somebody with a little smile. Because it's crap, the news. The weather's crap and the news is crap. A teacher's been banned from working with kids after telling a Muslim child that Britain is a Christian state, which has led me to ask whether we're allowed to be a Christian state anymore, or a Christian country, because we can't fly our flag, and now apparently it's offensive if we say we're Christian. What are your thoughts on this, Charlie Rowley?
Well, you're absolutely right. The weather's terrible. The news is terrible. This is just another depressing story, I think. People need to get out more, I think, Jeremy. People need to have something actually worthwhile to focus on in their lives rather than calling on the thought police or anything like that because of what someone has said. But even, if it's an opinion, we seem to have the police knocking at people's doors. But when someone is stating what is an out-and-out fact is that this is a country that has a monarch who is the head of the Church of England. We are a Christian country. There is nothing wrong with saying that. And so whoever has felt offended in any way, I think, the problem lies at their doorstep and at their feet rather than the individual in question. And I know this comes on the back of a former Marine, yesterday's story, who managed, my understanding, a young kids football team, also, had the police come knocking at their door. The world's gone mad. It has gone mad, and it gets to a point where you look at the news of the day and you go, so how have we got to this point? You're right. And another big shout out to Lord Toby Young and the Free Speech Union. They support so many people. You're right, that guy yesterday not allowed to coach his daughter's football team now because he dared to put on Facebook that he thought that some illegal migrants committed sex crimes, which is in fact proven. Today the figures are 25%, and that's the other story today, Charlie. 2 Afghan teenage immigrants yesterday jailed for about 10 years for raping a 15-year-old girl who bravely took a video. One of the lawyers said, pal, it would cause a riot if this was ever allowed out. Yet more examples of a government that allow people to come into this country unvetted without any control who are committing crimes against the population. Somebody's got to do something. Yeah, 100%. I mean, the most heinous of crimes and perpetrators, rightly to face sentencing. The crime itself obviously goes without saying. Is horrific and barbaric. But the reason why, on top of the crime itself, of which we can all agree is in the category that it is about culture as well. The idea that we have people coming to this country on small boats or from wherever they're coming from, have absolutely no respect at times for women and girls. And this is why it was so vital. Obviously, yesterday we heard about the Conservatives setting out how they would lead a grooming gangs, a rape gang inquiry. Absolutely right. Again, when people are on the left pointing their finger at maybe people like, well, certainly people like me, saying, you're on a far-right bandwagon if you dare reject anybody that's crossing that channel, thinking that they are thinking that they're a refugee when really they are an economic migrant. They just want to come into the country. They do not have or share the same values and cultures and Western ideals that keep us all safe, which obviously extends to the protection of women and girls and equality and the like. But this is a totally different ballgame. These are people with a different mindset, a different religion, where in certain parts of the Middle East in particular, women are subordinate to men. They're not allowed an education. They're not allowed the freedoms that women and girls in this country enjoy today. They have to at times be forced to cover their faces because of a different religious identity, a different cultural identity that is so dead against and opposite to what we hold dear in this country. And if you allow that to continue, and those kinds of people that come into this country but are waved in and welcomed with open arms because they are
I think you're just asking for trouble. Touching upon what you said about Kemi Badenoch yesterday, demanding that foreign grooming gang members must be kicked out of Britain with no exceptions, including those with dual British citizenship. She added that mosques must be compelled to cooperate and give evidence to Labour's grooming gang inquiry. I had Helen Wakely, Shadow Work and Pension Secretary, on, and it's all great. She was talking about leaving the ECHR and getting the boats, and I put to her and she was honest. I said, you had 14 years to sort this out. This grooming inquiry, this is an absolute disgrace, I think, on our society in its entirety. And I can't believe it's been swept under the carpet for so long, Charlie. It's a disgrace.
You're totally right. And there's no getting away from the fact that inquiries might have been launched in the past, reviews might have taken place, which, sort of became too long or too vast or didn't then sort of, articulate some of the real challenges, which is why this particular inquiry is so important to have. And yes, notwithstanding those failures of the past, absolutely right, more should have been done to specifically target the causes and the individuals and the problems. So this inquiry, specific to grooming gangs, where it does appear that a particular part of society, people of, men of a Pakistani origin are the perpetrators. That is in itself something that needs to be looked at because, Pakistani origin is disproportionate in terms of the greater population, but are committing a large proportion of some of those crimes. That's extremely important to point out. But also the cover-up. Who knew about these individuals? Who allowed those particular crimes to take place, whether it was the police, whether it was local council authorities, whether it was social services, children's services, whether it was local, let's say, councillors as well as councils, but whether it was also people in places of religious practice. So whether mosque leaders, religious leaders, anybody that knew about this, that was in a position of power, that either contributed to the cover-up or certainly contributed to the criminal activity, should not be hidden away, should not be protected. They need to be fully exposed, they need to be held to account, and they need to be banged up.
I couldn't agree more, and I've decided that with you, I'd prefer you in the studio. Come tomorrow. I'm going to just play you because I think this is brilliant. So yesterday, our Prime Minister, because anyway I can make you smile today, our Prime Minister decided that if he joined TikTok, this would make him popular with the younger generation. I'm going to play you firstly what Keir... This is about as inspiring and insipid as his underwear, I imagine, is. This is Keir Starmer on TikTok. Play it, big boy.
TikTok, follow him.
Right, so if you are tuning in, basically that is Keir Starmer walking out of 10 Downing Street with his wife. Oh, she turned up. Turning on some Christmas tree lights, 5, 4, 3, and that was it. That was lovely. Very quickly, the Tory party, who I don't compliment very often, came out with another version. Have you seen this, Charlie Riley? This is absolutely fantastic. Play it, Marky. Sum it up to make me laugh for Christmas. Do go online and watch that. It just gets worse for him every day. You're grinning, I'm grinning, through a sea of misery. He's hopeless, isn't he?
Well, yes. There's no way of putting it, is it? I mean, he's joined TikTok in order to attract the youth vote, to try and get more, given the fact that he's extended the vote to 16 and 17-year-olds, and they're going to have to be faced with those videos. I mean, it is a calamity day by day. To a point where I don't feel sorry for him, but no. you might begin to start to if there's a bit of festive cheer and will, because, you know,
I've got no feelings of anything other than derision and hatred for a man who is screwing my country up. There you go, I've said it. Charlie Rhodey, come in tomorrow. I miss you when you're not here. Thank you very much indeed. Morning, Sally.
No, dear, we don't call it Christmas. We call it winter holiday. No, you in the corner there. Take off that jumper. It's not a Christmas jumper. It's a winter jumper. No, we're not having a nativity this year. Nativities don't happen. No. Oh, what are you doing? A Christmas turkey? No, we don't have a Christmas turkey. No. Everything is festive. Oh, and the Christmas tree. No, not the Christmas tree. The evergreen tree. That's right.
I loved it, Sal, but it's one of the fears that I have. Who the hell were you talking to? What are you doing? Hello? There you go. Anyway, maybe it's going to happen to me, but thank you for your call. Back in 3.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, almost 9 o'clock. Loads of calls coming up, voice notes, text. Right now, though, push the button, Big M.
90 minutes in 90 seconds. From The Sun.
We say a very good morning to Samuel Luckhurst, talks Manchester United correspondent. You're used to disappointment like I am, but you beat Wolves last night. It wasn't particularly difficult. I'm questioning only this as Manchester United jumped to 6th in the table, Samuel. Why did Rob Edwards go from Middlesbrough, who are in the promotional playoff places, or in fact in second place in the Championship, to Wolves? They look utterly awful.
I think it's as simple a case of that that's where he's from and that's where his family is based, and it still didn't wash with Middlesbrough fans, and quite understandably so, given that he was talking up Middlesbrough as a family club when he was there only a couple of months ago. But unfortunately for him, well, not unfortunately, because I think he must have known what he was getting in for, but Wolves do look like they should be mentioned in the same breath as Sunderland in 05-06, Derby in 07-08 and Southampton last season, among the worst ever teams in the Premier League era. They will do well to get double figures on points.
I think they've gone. I was talking to Jeff Stelling from TalkSport this morning. I think they've gone and Burnley will go. It's just hopefully West Ham isn't the other. Can we talk very quickly? I'd always love to have more time with you, my friend. Mohamed Salah, I mean, I saw the exclusive interview, may never play for Liverpool again. He hasn't travelled for the Champions League game in Spain tonight. What are your thoughts?
He's always had an ego, but he's been able to get away with that ego because he's been such a great footballer for them. But it's got to a point now where he's had his nose put out of joint and maybe is showing his true colours, where rather than just knuckle down and get on with the fight of trying to get back into the team, he's decided, actually, this isn't for me. They've signed too many forwards in the summer. I'm not having this. And it probably suits his the time he is at his career, where he's a 33-year-old, to sever ties with Liverpool. It's a shame for Liverpool, but it's not altogether surprising given the way, given the dire form they've been in this season. They threw it away again at the weekend.
I thought it was very interesting. Jamie Carragher, I'm not a massive fan, but he said that Mo Salah absolutely always knows what he's doing, and that would have been absolutely premeditated. Liverpool drew. It's my turn to turn on the coach. Nobody's bigger than any team. The bloke doesn't track back. He's just signed a contract for 400 grand a week. Get your finger out and get back up and down the pitch, but he doesn't do that. And I think, as you quite rightly say, there is a chance that will be the end of it. Very quickly, Man United, happy under Amarin? You got 30 seconds. Getting better or not? Papering over the cracks?
It doesn't say a lot to beat Wolves as they did last night, and they almost, for one half at least, it was looking a bit iffy, where they somehow managed to make it a contest just by playing against themselves and letting Wolves get that equaliser at the death. So we didn't really learn anything about them last night. There were times where they looked decent, but the proof is always in the pudding. They don't win games in succession often enough. It's been 3 at the most this season. I think a lot of their fans will be surprised if they make it another 3 in a row coming up.
Try being a West Ham fan. Samuel, thank you very much indeed. Right, almost 9 o'clock. We're live across the UK. Jack Elsom in a tick. News at 9 next, though. Enjoy.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
A very good morning. 1 hour left of breakfast for Tuesday. Julia Hartley-Brewer from 10 and Ian Collins from 1 o'clock this afternoon. Listen, it ain't great news. You're waking up to stories such as the teacher being banned from working with children because he dared to ask a Muslim child or mention that Britain is a Christian state. And it got me thinking at 6 o'clock this morning, which is quite useful. This man gets reported to the police. He gets reported to the Child Protection Board because he asked if we live in a Christian state. I'm not sure we do anymore. Do we live in a Christian country? Our king's supposed to be head of the Christian church, but I don't know. I mean, you can't fly your flag. You can't say where you come from. You've also been incensed this morning about two stories. Two Afghan teenage illegal migrants jailed yesterday for the horrific rape of a 15-year-old girl. Traumatised forever, that poor kid. And just bravely taking a video, which one of the lawyers in the court case yesterday said if that went viral or it went public, there would be riots on the streets. He also ranting about the story that Sir Keir Starmer and Wes Streeting are coming up with a test of 208 and 9-year-olds. They're going to give puberty blockers to children. I don't care what anybody tells me in this office. In my mind, that is complete child abuse. Good morning, Chantal.
Morning, Jezza. Chantal from Brackley here. Pronouns P5 from. All I can say is that these puberty blockers have worked for me. Anyway, have a merry Winterval.
Sorry, that was Chantal. Oh, he took puberty blocker. Oh, I see. Sorry, yes, I need to get up to speed. Sean, make me feel a bit happy. Oh, no, Christmas is going to be cancelled as well. We'll call it Happy Festive. Morning, Sean.
Jez, it's dead simple. Any one of these shops that has removed the word Christmas or Happy New Year and changes it for season's greetings, Winterval, winter, festive season, do not buy their stuff. It is simple. And on the way out, tell them, I am not buying a festive tree. I am not buying your tree because it doesn't say Christmas tree. Now, remember, those people who do not celebrate Christmas will not be buying a evergreen tree. They will not be buying a formally Christmas cake, will they? Because they don't celebrate it. So how can you upset and offend people who don't buy the stuff in the first place? Vote with your wallets.
Probably very true. Just to get you all in the right frame of mind for the next hour, good morning, Damon from Wigan. Britain is dying, Jez, and being proud to be British is coming to an end. Everything in my country is un-British, and the country I knew is changing fast and is now completely lawless. I've served in the British Army, and I'm very proud of that fact. However, I don't recognise this country and its values anymore, and I feel so sorry for the people because we are being taken over and we can see what is happening. But because the left is so strong, we are powerless, are we? And it's changed for the worse. Britain is now in a very dangerous place, and the United Kingdom governments have allowed this to happen. Thank you to Talk for giving us the news about the real truth about what's going on. God, honestly, I might as well just give up today. Let's try and put a spring in my step and a hat. Anyway, Jack Elson, political editor of The Sun. Make me smile, son. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, Jeremy. I had a nice weekend. Good day at work yesterday. I'm going to have a good week at work this week. You know, I do think that there's so much doom and gloom.
There is.
In this country. And, you know, people are rightly angry at lots of stuff. But, you know, we are still a great country. There is still much to be cheerful
Right, well, all right,
about.
let's play a game then. Let's play a game with Jack Elson. Young, in love, job of his dreams, happy as anything, doesn't have to come into work on a Tuesday, just sat at home in his opulent Knightsbridge apartment that I probably paid for. Anyway, listen, let's get to it. Tell me some good news then. Tell me something that will make me smile, something good about Great Britain. Brilliant.
There's so much. There is so much good about our country, whether it is the sport, the culture, the pub scene. You go around London.
Right, you can't smoke and you can't drink anymore. You can't drink and smoke because that's unhealthy, right? Football, you don't know if you're playing against a woman or a man. That's all a complete disaster. You don't kick anybody like you can in the old days because you'll probably give them anxiety and they'll be out for 6 months. What else did you say? Our culture? What culture? No, I'm joking. But listen, I'm proud.
Listen. There are many things, I think, and listen, I'm the first one to say there are many problems in this country, and many people feel rightly aggrieved. The state of the economy is abysmal. We have massive problems with integration in this country. We have massive problems with both legal and illegal migration. We have a woke class who are trying to suppress classic British forms of humour, although I think that reasons to be cheerful are that, and you know this because your viewers say it and my readers say it on a daily basis, the majority of people in this country are annoyed by that stuff, but that I think in itself is a reason to be cheerful, because the majority of people are on the side of common sense. And yes, obviously, there's lots of polarization in politics at the moment, but, there are, I think, common things that we can agree are fantastic. Go out for a nice walk in the countryside, go for a pub lunch, have a roast dinner on a Sunday. It's fantastic. I like doing it.
Honestly,
besides all the doom and gloom.
Look at the face, the cherub face of a young man, happy in almost every aspect. Let's start with something I wanted to ask about. Lovely article today, page 17. You've been pushed back a bit today, Alston. Zelensky handed Russian cash. He rallied European leaders at number 10 as a push to unlock frozen billions that Russian oligarchs have had frozen, like Abramovich, actually, in London. That's an interesting story, my friend.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm not sure that the Chelsea sale assets will be part of this deal. This is more sort of Russian sovereign assets, so Russian government money. But yes, finally, we've got about 8 billion in the UK, and we've got about 100 billion in Europe. Finally, we're going to have these Russian assets, which have been frozen in bank accounts basically since the war started now, used as loans for the Ukrainian war effort. Zelensky came to the UK yesterday crying out for more support. Clearly, the support he's receiving from America is shaky under the Trump administration, who seems to be calling on their support for Ukraine. And so he came to Downing Street yesterday, the clear message that he needs some support. And I think finally what we're going to be doing now in the next few days is unlocking those £1 billion worth of frozen assets and using them to underwrite loans for the Ukrainian war effort. Because, at this moment where deals and talks of deals are in the works, Putin is putting his boots really on the throat of Ukraine, ramping up the attacks there because he thinks that will strengthen his hand in any peace negotiations. And so, for the defenders of Ukraine in the West, I think, it's incumbent on people to actually try and, give Zelensky the tools that he needs.
Just very quickly, I'd love your opinion quickly. We've followed this war, we've talked about it incessantly. It's Europe's war that somebody like Vladimir Putin, unlike Zach Polanski, thinks you can fly to Moscow and say, please drop your weapons, is a madman who needs to be controlled. My only question to you as the political editor of The Sun is, are you aware, as I think most of us are, that I'm not saying that it's a large number, but there is a growing feeling of people in this country, Jack, who are suffering from what I call war fatigue, which says we're really aware that this is a problem, but you've just unlocked another 8 billion, and yet I can't. I'm bringing it down to basics. I can't see a doctor. I've been taxed through the hilt. My shop has gone up threefold. My electricity bill's threefold, and frankly, I'm struggling. And I think that's quite relevant.
No, you're totally right. Most people in this country would never have been to Ukraine. Most people in this country might not have even heard of Ukraine before the war started. I would say two things to that. First, I think that it probably goes to show why unlocking frozen Russian assets was probably something they should have done right at the start of this war, rather than relying on the good nature of British taxpayers to fund billions of pounds to it. And actually, if you had used that Russian money at the start, then we wouldn't have had to have done nearly as much digging into the own treasury coffers as we would needed. But also on a wider point about Brits paying for European security, clearly, I think at the start there was a big feeling that we need to help Ukraine against a tyrannical Russian despot in Vladimir Putin, so that he knows that a line has been drawn. But where does this end? I think that is what people are looking at now. How is this war going to end? Because wars either end in total annihilation of one side and total victory for the other, or they end in a peace deal. And Trump clearly has his eyes on peace.
Well, I read yesterday that he's getting fed up with it, might walk away.
And this is the real danger now. I think that there was clearly never going to be a peace deal under Joe Biden because he was too much of a weak operator to be able to get both sides around the table. Trump has managed to open dialogue with Vladimir Putin and also maintain dialogue with Zelensky. At the moment, the two sides seem worlds apart in what they would accept. Trump is trying to get Ukraine to give up vast swathes of land, including the Donbass. Zelensky says that's totally unacceptable. But at what stage are they going to budge? Zelensky's now coming under pressure from even people within his own country. But on both sides, there are some people saying that we should try and sue for peace. There are others who are saying that all of these soldiers, tens of thousands of them, would have died in vain if we just hand over swathes of land to Vladimir Putin and essentially reward him for that invasion back in 2022. And so it's an incredibly difficult situation. And at the moment, it's difficult to see the path towards peace. At the moment, it looks like the balance is tipped in favor of just continuing in this quagmire of more people being poured into the meat grinder in Ukraine, which is a pretty horrible situation.
Completely agree. Domestically, your views on a couple of things. Earlier in the week, we had the news that Nigel Farage, yesterday, claims that he overspent on the election campaign in Clacton. This apparently being looked at by Essex Police. Don't know what your view is. Not condoning if he's made a mistake, but to me, this smacks of the establishment will do anything to try and bring Nigel Farage and the reform bubble to burst. Talking about his Coots bank account, talking about this thing. They're not going to stop, are they? And the BBC thing was classic. They were slagging him. I thought his response last week was amazing. But does it not smack, Jack, of they really are starting to fear that Nigel Farage could make it to Downing Street and they're going to pull out all the stops, whoever they are?
Well, listen, I think there's 2 points there, isn't there? I mean, firstly, misreporting election spending is clearly a very serious crime and something the police will look into, whichever party is accused of doing it. But I think you are right, the fact that Nigel Farage, because he is so far ahead in the polls, because he was an underdog and basically on the margins of mainstream politics for so long, clearly now does have a target on his back. And many people with an axe to grind will be coming out of the woodwork in the next 4 years before the next election, trying to bring him down. Now, some of them might have legitimate grievances, and at the moment, the allegations from revolving around he was a schoolboy at Dulwich College do seem to be a he said, she said. There's no overwhelming proof apart from one person's word or several people's words.
I want to jump in. I want to jump in because, and I would never listen. I'm 60, and I do not. There isn't a racist bone in my body. I find it abhorrent. I've repeatedly sat here and said how the Jewish community have been absolutely destroyed in this country, how I hate all that. But I do think we are in danger, because I'm older and I'm the same age as him, right? I do think we're in danger of not knowing our arse from our elbow. I don't know what I said 49 years ago, and I do think that comment that he made about, the black and white minstrels and Alf Garnett and all that, ain't our fault, mum, right? I'm not going to go into details, but the truth of the matter is 50 years ago, the world was a very different place. And we have to surely get to a point where we say, well, we can't destroy somebody. I'm not sticking up for anybody that says anything that's wrong, but it's ludicrous, Jack. It's like, how long are we going to apologise for our history? How far are we going to go back and pull down all of these things? I don't know. Change the way you think, modernise, fantastic, totally supportive. But if you start going back retrospectively, I just think you're going to end up causing more mayhem. And what you'll do to the people who see Nigel Farage, if you like, as the saviour, this will merely reinforce that the establishment's out to get him.
Yeah, and that's a point that someone like Rory Stewart made. Has nothing in common with Nigel Farage whatsoever, is one of his main detractors, but made the point that actually, if you end up raking over what someone said as a school child, there's going to be no one that wants to go into politics left, because actually, they won't be allowed to have, they won't be allowed to have made mistakes in the past. Everything has to be sanitized. The other side of the coin, which Farage's critics are saying, is that, what you say when you're 17 years old, if he's alleged to have said it, speaks to the character of the man who wants to be prime minister. So there's clearly two sides to this debate.
Do you think he's going to be strong enough, Jack, to take the barrage that's going to hit him in the next 3 years, yes or no?
I spent a lot of time with Nigel Farage in recent weeks, and this is a man who is determined more than most politicians that I've seen to win power. Someone that is absolutely laser focused in trying to professionalise his party. You think about parties that Nigel Farage has led in the past, the UKIP, Brexit Party. They've been a bit of a fringe rabble. Sometimes they have their meetings in pubs and they swill pints. And listen, that's part of Nigel Farage's appeal. But make no mistake, this is a man who I think has really set his sights on power and will try and do anything he can to actually achieve that. Now, I think that he himself is professional. Often with Nigel Farage, he's been let down by people around him. And I think that that is a real danger. Almost that sort of guilt by association, I think, is something which he runs a real risk of going into the next election, especially when they're, you know, having to broaden their tent with all of these councillors and all these new candidates come up. Clearly, there's going to be bad apples. There's bad apples in every party, but I think that Nigel Farage is more exposed to those blowing up.
But he's the man
he's got a target on his back.
We used to say he's the man in possession, isn't he? He's the man that you're aiming for. He's got a target on his back because he's leading in 171 opinion polls. Just very quickly before I let you go, Sir Keir Starmer this week saying that Angela Rayner will return to cabinet. Yesterday she jumped up to that employment rights bill that she was so going on about. It's been watered down already, and she's sort of this thinly veiled warning yesterday in the Commons saying don't bring it down, don't water it down anymore. Everybody knows that Starmer's on shaky ground. Do you imagine that our Ange will stand? Is she a viable opportunity? Is she a viable option for the Labour Party, or is she just going to cause trouble?
Well, bizarrely, Angela Rayner seems more powerful out of cabinet than she actually was when she was in it, because it seems that, you know, Keir Starmer and the rest of the cabinet are falling over themselves to praise her, bend to her whims, because for many of the people in the grassroots of the Labour Party, the left-wingers in the Parliamentary Labour Party, she is their Red Queen over the water. She was martyred by having to leave in that tax scandal, even though most people would see that actually, you know, she definitely should have gone after not paying her stamp duty. In a pretty big scandal, actually, but it has made her some sort of...
Which, by the way,
weird
Jack
martyr
Elsom, and everybody listening who has any sympathy, she still hasn't paid HMRC back, and I think that's really, really relevant. I'd love to see Angela Rayner in charge of the Labour Party and Prime Minister, because I'd have a fun 3 years. But she literally 9 weeks ago had to resign, forced to resign because the paper made her by doing a good job, right? She still owes 40 grand to the taxman. Fact.
Yeah, and I think the problem is that if Angela Rayner decided to... If there's a leadership election tomorrow and Angela Rayner decided to run, I think she would win pretty comfortably. I think she'd get the required nominations by the MPs, and then I think she'd absolutely walk the membership because they are even more left-wing than the Parliamentary Party. Will she do it? I'm not so sure, because for the reasons you said, I think the scrutiny on her would be just so forensic and ferocious because of the recent scandal she's been in, not least the tax scandal. And so I don't think that actually you can get past that.
Well, it'd be interesting to see. Mate, as ever, thank you. So what does the rest of the day hold? You've clambered out of bed late to do this interview. Where are you off to now? Racing somewhere? Or are you actually doing some work today? What's going on?
Well, I've been up since 6 reading the papers, and then I'm about to go and walk into Westminster. Well, I'll be working late into the night after a long lunch and a few parties later in the evening. It's Christmas party season in Westminster, so there's a lot of swanky bashes that I have to attend because it's serious networking.
I love the way you said swanky bashes. Are you at that swanky bash next Thursday at the House of Commons that I've been invited to?
Clearly, not even I, Jeremy, am important enough for the swankiest of all bashes. Which one's that?
I'm not prepared to say on air, but I'm surprised you. I'll get you an invite, Jack. Don't worry. Thank you very much indeed. Good man. We love him. Political editor of The Sun. Let's say very good morning quickly in Liverpool. Carl, you are on breakfast. Good morning, my friend.
Good morning, Jeremy. How are you?
I'm not bad. What can we do for you, sir?
Yeah, it might be a bit controversial, this, but this 15-year-old girl that was raped and videoed it.
Yeah, let's just repeat for anybody who hasn't been around. It is the #1 news story, tragically, today. 2 Afghan teenage, I say that roughly, illegal migrants jailed yesterday for raping a 15-year-old schoolgirl who bravely filmed the attack. One of the lawyers who jailed this guy for 10 years, both of them for 10 years, they'll be out after 3 or 4, obviously, with new identities, one of the lawyers said, it would cause riots if the footage went public. Sorry, Carl, just wanted to identify the story before you talk about it.
Yeah, I would show it Jeremy, I would blare everything out that needed to be blared out, and I would show it. And the reason I say this is because we have seen the rape gun scandal just get delayed. We've seen these men come over and do all this damage, rapes and sexual attacks on women, and the politicians just seem to carry on their day like it's nothing. They need to see the damage, see it visually that it does to our women and girls, because it's just too much. That it makes me so angry that these politicians can just crack on with their day. And as your man said there's Christmas parties. Come on, they'll all be doing that this year. Not a care in the world about what's going on the streets of this country. Jeremy, this poor girl, she's 15, that's their life.
Said it earlier, Carl, and I'll say it again. I've worked with many women, several spring to mind, who quite rightly have made a career out of talking about the safety of women and how women's rights should be absolutely at the forefront. And I've always supported that, but I don't hear any of them talking about this 15-year-old girl or the girl that was attacked on the beach in Bournemouth where some weeks ago, that story, and the guy was allowed to stay because apparently he'd have a bad time if he went home. We're going to put these two heinous individuals in prison for 10 years. They'll serve 4. We'll pay however much it costs for them to have 3 meals a day and walk around an exercise yard. And then I guarantee when they're let out, they'll either get a new identity or some excuse. Meanwhile, she'll have PTSD and her life will probably disappear down the plug hole, but we won't bother about that. There's only one answer, isn't there? You've done that. 2 things should happen. You're being deported. You're not setting foot in my country again. And first of all, can we please work out as a nation how you stop men with different views of 17, 18 or whatever coming into our country and committing these crimes? Don't let them set foot in the country. That is it. It's not rocket science. Thank you to Carl in Liverpool. Matt says, let's make Britain great again. Morning, Matty.
Morning, Jazz. Matt down here in Somerset. This country could be so good. When you look at it, look at what we've achieved. We could be absolutely riding a crest of a wave. Yeah, we all need to step up. We all need to get out. We need to get out there, clean these road signs that are filthy. Yeah, mend these broken fences, cut these verges, pick up the litter. We need to get together as a community and as a country, turn this country around, get rid of this goddamn awful government. Because at the moment, the way I'm feeling, I want out. I want out big style. And I want to take my family with me. And I'm worried what my teenage lad is going to do, you know, when he's 18 in the big wide world. God help us all.
This is from the migrant camps in Dunkirk.
It's a lot deeper and darker.
The French police are complicit every step of the way.
And that was when I heard the gunfire. You need to get out of here quick. They do not care about human life. They are dangerous people.
For 2 weeks, talk was undercover in those camps. This is an absolute scandal.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
The wonderful Christian who produces this show has put me in an even worse mood now. I was really trying. He's reminded me of what my week brings. I mean, I only say this as a joke. There's 3 things in the world that I hate most. Getting wet, the French and theme parks. So you can imagine the thought of Euro Disney this weekend. I mean, Oliver and Iris have a great time and it's fantastic and all that. And she's done me a ripper, the old wife. When I say old, I mean young. Literally, this is what Oliver says to me yesterday. Mummy says you'll go on the roller coasters. Great, brilliant, great. But then I found out that for kids of his age, the roller coasters are really easy. So I said, yeah, that's fine. Tell your mother she's going on the boat trip so you can get wet, love, because frankly, I'm going to be sat there thinking, when can we come home? Happy Christmas. No, come on, let's get... Oh, no, we can't. Joe, good morning.
Oh, hi, it's Joe from Liverpool. Just waking up to the news on that poor girl that had been raped by the 2 illegal immigrants. Let me tell you, if that was my daughter, the Labour government would be held accountable. I'd have Keir Starmer's balls on my Christmas tree before you knew it. I just think it's appalling. I think that footage should be released because there's people in this country, even our own, that are just clueless to what's going on. I'm absolutely terrified of even walking the dog of a night, let alone my kids being on the same street as them. It's just ridiculous. I'm all for immigration, but when they're not vetted and they're on our streets, raping our children, women, and even men, it's just getting ridiculous. Something needs to be done.
Great to have it. I think that opinion from Joe in Liverpool is exactly what a lot of people think, although I don't particularly want Keir Starmer's balls on my Christmas tree. The other story that's... and it's funny, obviously, it's one of them through the glass is going to say, well, if it was your balls, there's only one. Yes, well, there we go. I'm laying it out there. Before we speak to Helen Joyce, Director of Advocacy at Sex Matters, which is a wonderful organisation, the story that I really... also have struggled with today massively is Keir Starmer and Wes Streeting facing a growing revolt on giving children puberty blockers. This is a story that is really winding people up. Apparently it's a test plan of 200 kids, and it begs the question, you're going to have to get parental consent for that. What parent says about an 8-year-old, oh yeah, let's give them puberty blockers because they know about those things at 8. It's many people saying to us that it's almost child abuse. Dale, good morning, my friend. He says puberty blockers, Jez. When my 8-year-old stepdaughter came to us and told us she wanted to be a boy called Tyler, we listened, we dismissed it. This went on for a few months. We let her air her views and then explain why she liked football and it was okay for her to like football and still be a girl. We explained that in the past, tomboys like girl-boy stuff, etc. At no point at all did we as parents go, oh, you're 8, I think gender reassignment would be a very good idea. We, like you, see it as abuse. Finally, we told her, if she feels the same at 18, she can do what she likes, but that she needs to grow up first because things change hormonally, mentally, morally. Absolutely right. He said, we haven't heard anything about it since. She's very happy being a very good female footballer. In fact, she's the best player in a boys' team. Bingo, Dale. That's my point, right? Are we trying too young? We say good morning to Helen Joyce, Director of Advocacy at Sex Matters. Good morning, Helen. How are you?
Good morning, and Dale sounds like an absolute star. That's top parenting.
I just... Look at this one, Darren in Cambridgeshire. Good morning, Jez and everyone. Puberty blockers. You know from your past TV show that children aren't heard when it comes to social care or family court, so what the hell gives them a voice when it comes to if they want to take puberty blockers? Surely the parents and government should be taken to court for child abuse. I genuinely, Helen, this frightens me probably more than any other story today.
I think you're not alone in that. Most people, really most people, think exactly the same, including people who would be very woke on other trans issues. We've done focus groups and people cannot be shifted from the point the children are too young to make irreversible decisions. And puberty blockers set children on the path to irreversible decisions. This absolutely shouldn't be happening, and I think it's a huge fail from Wes Streeting, who had the bravery to bar prescriptions of puberty blockers, but seems to have fallen at the final hurdle by allowing this incredibly badly designed trial. I mean, really,
Let's talk about this trial. Tell us a bit more detail. It's 200 kids, is that right?
Yeah, just over 200, and they're not even comparing kids who are put on puberty blockers with kids who aren't. They're comparing kids who are put on puberty blockers straight away with kids who have to wait for a year. So the first lot will obviously be really pleased because they got what they wanted, and the second lot will be miserable until they get what they wanted, and then they'll be really pleased. So I can tell you the results now. And anyway, that's too short term. The problem with puberty blockers isn't so much what happens in the next year or two. It's the fact, as I said, that 98% of the kids who take puberty blockers go on to cross-sex hormones, go on to a lifetime of being medicalised, permanent, irreversible changes, including probably sterility, and also, major issues with sexual function. So that for a 10-year-old, absolute insanity.
I agree, but again, I'd love it. Explain this to me. 200 kids, over 200 kids are taking part in this trial where you say that some of these drugs could lead to a life of dependency, whatever. But let's just look at that. Who's given the permission? The parents? What, because a 10-year-old says, I like football? You're going to allow them to take part in what sort of sounds like animal testing, by the way. Sorry, but I feel really strongly about this as a father. You're going to allow your child to have this stuff put inside them, which could colour the way they see life, yeah?
Yeah, I mean...
Well,
so
you don't
both
deserve to have children, those parents. I think they're an absolute disgrace. Sorry.
I think they've believed what doctors told them. There have been doctors selling this as a treatment for a long time, and lobby groups as well, and it's talked about in schools as if it's life-saving.
How is it a treatment? What's interesting is, presumably, Helen, right, the doctors would sell it, or in schools, as you said, as it just blocks you whilst you can work out. But what I've gathered from what you've told me is it starts to manufacture how you feel about your body. Is that the main difference?
I wish that you were on the Research Ethics Committee that had said OK to this. You understand it better than they clearly do. Yes, they're treating it like it's a standalone treatment, that all it does is just cheer you up for a bit because you don't have to go through puberty when you're scared of going through puberty. But puberty is what fixes these issues most of the time. Puberty is when you understand yourself. It's that you understand your sex, your sexuality, you start to grow up, you understand risk, it's actually, I agree with you that it's child abuse. I think it's an actual human rights abuse. I think there should be people in court on the basis of ever having offered this treatment.
And it seems to me, and I sound like my dad used to talk to me about stuff like this. I feel like it's playing with nature, and I think that what's happened is it's been hijacked by those people on the transgender argument side that I refuse to get drawn into because I know that it just I can't. But here's what I would say. It's been hijacked. It's very simply this. Young kids, boys or girls, who might at some point, 7 or 8, and I thought Dale's email, like you said, was great, might have said, I like football, or I want to dress up or whatever. So a normal parent's response is, Dale, do it. Experience, whatever, not, yes, well, I'm going to give you to Mr. Streeting to put some drugs into your body which will basically stop you from going through puberty, and whilst that happens, you can decide what you're going to be. But actually what it really does, you irresponsible git of a parent, is it starts to colour the way your child's sexuality leads. How dangerous with nature!
I mean, I couldn't agree more. And, the really most shocking thing of all is that 2,000 children have already been given these drugs, and we haven't analysed the long-term consequences. I mean, we need to be finding out what happened to them. The NHS, the adult gender clinics, refused to hand over the data on those kids, now adults.
Can I put a call on that I'd love you to be part of, Helen, because I think this is brilliant. Claudio, good morning. Welcome to Talk Breakfast. What did you want to say?
Good morning, Jeremy.
Helen Joyce from Sex Matters is on the call as well, Director of Advocacy. What do you want to say, Claudia?
Yeah, my question was Keir Starmer's children. I wonder, unfortunately, I've just found out that they're actually outside the bracket. They're just all above the bracket. But if he had children between 10 and 14 years of age, would he be happy to have his children have the puberty blockers?
I've no idea. What would you do if a child of yours of 7 and 8 said, I think I want to wear a dress or play football? Would you give them over to the government to have their system pulled full of drugs that will change the way they view their life, or not?
Of course I wouldn't. I would also be seriously questioning my parenting skills up until that age if my child has that view. And in addition to that, the other concern is that since when do the parents make such serious decisions about a non-critical, life-threatening matter for the child's health? And I can see in the future when these kids become adults and are burdened with the consequences long-term of their parents' decision, there could be legal action against the parents, against the medical fraternity, etc. They're kids. They're not 18. They don't have. How can they have such a? Oh, I'm so frustrated.
Mate, I completely agree. And something that Helen said, Claudia, and I want to bring you back in, Helen, is when you said, and I quote, the irony and the sadness of this story is that when you go through puberty as a boy or a girl, that is when you discover who and what you are, right?
I mean, exactly. Like, we all know that. I don't understand how people can be trained as doctors and researchers and medical professionals, and they seem to lose sight of things that all the rest of us know, like the Dale knows and the Claudio knows. Children grow up. Like, this is obvious, and puberty is what helps you to grow up. You turn into a full adult with adult mentality, able to reason, to understand yourself by going through puberty. How on earth is stopping puberty meant to help with you understanding your own identity?
I'm sat here thinking, thank you so much, Claudia, by the way. I'm sat here thinking something that's probably really unfair. I've got a couple of really good friends, and I'm not going to name them, who are desperate for a child and have tried absolutely everything. And I know she listens, right? And she'll be looking at the radio right now, my mate, going, how are those people entitled to have a baby when I can't? I'd protect my kid if I was lucky enough to have a baby at all costs. And you're going to give an 8-year-old? I think it's absolutely outrageous. And I want to shout out to Sex Matters, because your organisation, I've forever been a huge fan. I think you speak utter sense, and we're so grateful. And of course, you get attacked, I get attacked, but to me, I'm just protecting. It's like I said about same-sex changing rooms. I've got a 15-year-old daughter. I don't want her changing with a man who gets his penis out. Sorry, does that make me a bad dad or a good dad? Makes me a good dad in my mind.
I completely agree. I mean, I guess you're referring to the case of Sandy Peggy that we got the judgment on yesterday, and the judge literally said that she didn't have the right to complain when somebody he accepted was a man. A male person, okay, a male who identifies as a woman, came into the changing room on Christmas Eve, and he complained because she said to him he shouldn't be there. I just don't know how we managed to turn out people who are meant to be smart and are meant to be educated, who've forgotten things that everybody else knows, that there are two sexes, that children are too young to make irreversible decisions, that women need single-sex spaces for safety, privacy and dignity. We all know this, and yet institutions are ignoring those facts that all ordinary people know. I'm honestly, sometimes I'm despairing about it.
Have you ever thought, but you do this for a living, why are institutions or individuals forgetting? Is it politically motivated? Is it stupidity? Is it an inability to have any rational common sense in their heads? What is it?
I think it's propaganda. I think people have been propagandised for the last 20 years in school, in the courts, by law, by institutions that have, you know, swallowed slogans like trans women are women, and you tell people a big lie often enough and people start to believe it. I mean, these kids don't get these ideas about wanting to be the opposite sex from nowhere. When I was a little girl, nobody said that, and things were harder for young girls and women than they are now. But it just wasn't an idea that was around. But you teach kids in school that what makes you a boy is being boyish, what makes you a girl is being girlish. And any child who's distressed about their bodies, their changing bodies in puberty, their personality, that they've no friends, whatever it is, they're quite likely to land on that as the explanation. And then they become very distressed, and parents don't know what to do about it because they're so distressed. And then they listen to the professiondo huge mistake on this subject.
I once said on a show that I won't name something that caused a real, what do you call it, a bit of reaction at the time. You have to pass a test to drive a car. You don't have to pass a test to be a parent. Sorry,
But you do to be a teacher.
There you go, and a doctor. Yeah, there you bleed and go. Listen, long live the wonderful people at Sex Matters. Thank you so much indeed, Helen Joyce. Great to have you on. So much to talk about. How does that make you feel? How are parents giving their kids? People say you're very grumpy. I'm not grumpy. I'm just frustrated. I've spent 3 hours and 45 minutes talking about how we can't be a Christian country, how there are the people come into this country raping young girls and they get put in jail, not deported. Now we're giving I keep saying puberty blockers to 8-year-olds. Right, make me happy. Maddie, good morning.
Morning, Jezza. I like to think of myself as a proud British Indian woman, and I went to school in the 70s and we said the Lord's Prayer every single day at Assembly. Very good start to the day. And I can't understand why people are shocked that this is a Christian country. I mean, it's not a quandary. It's not a puzzle. Of course it's a Christian country. And I remember asking my son about 20 years ago if they still said the Lord's Prayer at school. And to be honest, he just laughed at me. And he said, Mum, what century are you living in? We don't do the Lord's Prayer anymore. We just have prayer rooms. Maddie from Essex.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
9:45, some breaking news. Now, we have to make no assumptions here because there will be a legal process, but we have breaking news that an Afghan national has allegedly been charged with the rape of 2 teenage girls in Bolton over the weekend. This on the back of the story that we did about Leamington Spa all morning, where those 2 teenagers were given 10 years, and the abhorrent crime was described, that one, by a lawyer as if the public saw the footage, there would be riots. I think they should be deported. This is a breaking news story on Talk. We have to assume nothing at this stage. An Afghan national has allegedly been charged with the rape of 2 teenage girls in Bolton over the weekend, which will further enhance the view that is not outrageous in any way, that we need to look at people coming into this country unvetted. By the way, just a quick reminder, extraordinary show tomorrow night, 7 o'clock on Talk. Isabel Oakeshott, this has never been seen before. It's called The Undercover Migrant. I'm going to bring you undercover footage from the world's most dangerous migrant camps in Calais. Gunfire is a nightly reality. That is the truth. And extraordinary evidence that will prove genuinely that the French are busing and escorting migrants on public transport all the way to the beaches so that they get in the boats. And we're paying these people 500 million quid. Set your date, whatever you're doing tomorrow night, 7 o'clock, Isabel Oakeshott presenting The Undercover Migrant. Absolutely fantastic and exclusive to Talk. Good job, Isabel. What is it, 14 minutes to 10 o'clock? What are we... Oh, yes, I'm going to go stateside. I need to get out of this madness. I'm going to go to my favourite place. Arizona, Morning News, KTAR, live. LaDonna Harvey, good morning, or good afternoon, good evening. What time is it, love? What's going on?
It is 2:45 in the morning.
Now, you see, now I'm looking at those curtains and I thought they looked like Christmas trees. We've got to a point in England England, by the way, where you can't say Christmas because that might offend other religions. So they want to rename Christmas the festive winter period, Donna.
Well, we did when I lived in San Diego. They took the big Christmas on the Prado, which was this big thing that you did in Balboa Park, and now it's called December Nights. And I'm an atheist, and I'm offended. Call it what it is. Call it what it is.
Oh, we can't have it. So listen, very quickly, from a Trump point of view, they're saying that his Ukraine peace deal is on the brink of collapse. We saw a lot of movement over here yesterday. The dreadful Starmer hosting all the European, whatever their alliance is called, the Let's Work Together and Achieve Bugger All Alliance. But I read something from Don Jr. over the weekend that said that is he losing patience, Trump? Because their suggestions were, this side of the pond, that he might walk away from this process.
So, I mean, he may be. He doesn't like Zelensky. I don't know what is going on there. I have never known what's going on there. But he really does poke and prod at Zelensky as if Zelensky is the aggressor in this situation. No. Russia is the aggressor in this situation. And he seems, for some reason, just to be in bed with Vladimir Putin.
How does that go? That's a really great... I'm so glad you said it, because it's exactly how I see it, or in terms of the news I watch. How do the American people respond to that? Because the Ukrainians are apparently upset, the Europeans are a bit upset, and he seems to have pulled a lot right during this second presidency, but that, to me, looks like an own goal.
Yeah, we're not sure what is the story there. Between the dust up, whenever Zelensky met with he and the vice president, and he said something about his clothes, and everybody walked out of the meeting. The deal as it's put now would split a nuclear reactor. How do you do that? In between Ukraine and Russia. And I think that it leaves open, unfortunately, further aggression by Russia into Ukraine. Look, Vladimir Putin wants to get the band back together. He liked the USSR as it was. And for those of you children who don't remember the USSR, we're talking food lines, starvation, and some really rich oligarchs that got all of the good stuff and left the Russian people out in the cold, literally.
I couldn't agree more. The other news overnight here is that Starmer is going to release £100 billion of Russian money for Ukraine for their case. There seems to be amongst the European nations a huge amount of support for Zelensky. And yeah, I'm slightly confused about that. And one wonders about how Trump would view being, if you like, cast aside in this whole process. I'm really interested. There's something in this country that probably doesn't sound great, but there's increasing war fatigue, and we've been quite rightly told about how this is our war and Russia could perhaps take it further. But there's a lot of people looking at our country with all the problems we've got going, well, we really could do with £100 billion because, to be perfectly honest, we can't see it. All the things that we go on about. Do Americans feel like that? Is there war fatigue in America?
I think there's a lot of fatigue in America, between the tariff ups and downs and so many small businesses who were trying to navigate a wildly varied tariff situation. We have an economy that is very expensive right now. And Trump, very rightly in his first term, and I believe as he was leading up into the second term, was really focused on economics. And economics, James Carville said it at a bajillion years ago in the Clinton campaign, it's the economy, stupid. People vote and think with their wallets. They have to.
Listen, I couldn't agree more. And as we were just talking about, the way that Trump seems... We've got a clip. You were saying, weren't you, just now, that he seems to have lost patience. This is him yesterday saying that Zelensky hasn't even read the peace plan. Have a listen, have a watch.
So we've been speaking to President Putin, and we've been speaking to Ukrainian leaders, including Zelensky, President Zelensky. And I have to say that I'm a little bit disappointed that President Zelensky hasn't yet read the proposal. That was as of a few hours ago. His people love it, but he hasn't. Russia's fine with it. Russia, I guess, would rather have the whole country when you think of it. But Russia is, I believe, fine with it, but I'm not sure that Zelensky's fine with it. His people love it. but he hasn't read it. So someday you'll explain that one to me, Jeff.
LaDonna, his people are fine with it, are they?
No.
No.
No, they're not. It's giving up a huge swath of Ukraine to Russia, leading to, more areas where there could be more incursions. And nobody thinks for a moment that Vladimir Putin is done. He's not
Of course
done.
he's not done. He's a madman.
Not done at all.
Listen, do you want to know how mad it is living in this country? And we've got the leader of the Green Party. There's some idiot called Zach Polansky who literally said the other day, LaDonna, listen, the world needs peace. I would simply get on a plane and go to Moscow if I was the Prime Minister, and I would say to Mr. Putin, please put down your weapons, and he's a decent human being, and he will. What bloody planet is he from? No, of course he won't.
No, he's not, and no, he won't.
Absolutely. LaDonna,
Vladimir
we
Putin
love
is
you.
not decent.
Arizona Morning News. Qatar in Phoenix, we love you. Thank you so much for being on. What is it, 8 minutes to 10? How busy have we been? Julia Hartley-Brewer, excellent. Here from 10, Ian Collins from 1. This is Talk.
This is from the migrant camps in Dunkirk.
It's a lot deeper and darker.
The French police are complicit every step of the way.
And that was when I heard the gunfire. You need to get out of there quick. They do not care about human life. They are dangerous people.
For 2 weeks, Talk was undercover in those camps. This is an absolute scandal.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back to today. It's all been about the madness of Great Britain. Wayne, good morning.
Sir, so hang on a minute, let me get this right, sir. So, our king is the head of the Church of England.
Yes, Timmy, that's correct.
But we're not a Christian country.
No, Timmy, we can't be. We may offend some people.
Okay, so, and a man can have babies.
That's right, Timmy. A man can have babies.
And a woman has a penis?
That's correct, Timmy. A woman can have a penis.
And I can decide on a daily basis which gender I want to be.
Of course you can, Timmy. It's your perfect right to choose whatever you want to do. What we do in Christmas? Now, Timmy, no. We must not offend people. We cannot call it Christmas. It is festive season.
Brilliant. Wayne on the Madness of Great Britain. This is really brilliant. Sarah in Morden. This story about the teacher being thrown out for saying to a Muslim child, Christian, she said, who are they offending? My daughter's best friend is a Muslim. She's coming around to decorate the Christmas tree this weekend because they don't celebrate it in their house, fair enough, but they clearly haven't brought her up to be offended by what we believe in. My colleague's family are Sri Lankan. Her parents had their now adult kids here. They're very religious, not Christian, but have always celebrated Christmas in the same way we do, to be involved, because they wanted their children to be included with their peers at school. That's what you call, says Sarah in Morden, inclusion. What the wokerati are doing is excluding and causing division. Could not have put it better myself. Tony Martin, morning, Jez. I'm not sure if you cheer me up in the morning or wind me up. I want to develop the idea of using corporal punishment, using the recent rapists as an example. A right to family life will be protected by allowing their families to follow them to their origins if they wish. It's very interesting. And that, by the way, that view is held by many on the back of breaking news that we gave you, 10 minutes ago. We have to be very careful because there will be a legal process and I don't want any assumptions at all. But breaking news in the last 20 minutes that another national from Afghan has been charged with the rape of 2 teenage girls in Bolton over the weekend. That's on the back of the 2 that were yesterday jailed for 10 years. They'll only serve a quarter of that, I suspect, and that has caused massive outrage this morning amongst you. Thank you for all your calls and your texts. Julia, good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, it's that thing that never happens that just keeps on happening, or allegedly happening, isn't it? You know, the thing that never happens, because, you know, these people are fleeing, you know, war-torn places and they're desperate.
I've never seen...
People, but it never happens. It just keeps on happening. It's weird, isn't it? The thing that never happens.
It makes no sense to me as a parent that we allow unvetted men into this country and we are surrounded by do-gooders who will not actually admit that 25% of sexual crimes are committed by foreigners who shouldn't bloody well be here.
Well, no, 20% foreigners, but they're not all people who are illegal migrants. That's